I just come out of the G&P, had a very nice meal. It was very. The kitchen was very slow. It took ages to arrive. As a result, I've now got to run to the town hall to catch the final speaker of the day, Jade Shaw. This is one I don't want to miss based on the blurb. It looks fascinating, so I'm going to head in there now. Yeah, your own. That there is Jade. That's Jade.
I'm in Glastonbury in the heart of Babylon, where apparently King Arthur was laid to rest. And I'm here
this guy here
Symposium with lots of other
has a camera that's making my ice water. Yes, definitely got camera envy.
This amazing phenomenon. Let's check it out.
So obviously they're doing a video. They're doing a separate video of this speaker. So that's something that's good.
Take 2, 3.
I did get here on time, though. You'll be glad to know. It's but the previous speaker, the blood guy, he's still on the stage now. So he's just finishing off. Then they're going to rush Jade on. Because he did turn up eventually, but he's here. Good. All right. I missed him. I had to go to the pub to eat. But,
yeah, well, we just arrived about an hour ago, so.
All right. That's, I think they're making someone's making a documentary about Jade Shaw, so that'll be interesting. Anyway, here we go. I come out the town hall now. I'm going back to the cabin. I didn't stay for the end of Jade Shaw's talk. I watched an hour of it nearly, and that's going to have to be enough. I'm just tired. I'm just really exhausted. I hope I sleep better tonight. Jade, you saw her earlier, sort of a slim young woman, very animated. She was like prancing across the stage, waving her hands. So she's got ADHD. I don't know, but she talked about her own out-of-body experience, and then she told us all to greet each other, even people, strangers, as if we were old friends. And so we had to turn to the person next to them. We had to say, not seen you before, not seen you before, and act like you're an old friend that hasn't seen each other for a while. And then what was the next? You had to say what most people don't realise about me, and then say something. And luckily the person I was sitting next to was Colin. I think he knows most things about me. But I said, one thing you don't realise about me is I enjoy watching some children's programmes. Mind you, I said that on my video, so jeez. And then what's next? I'm here because, meaning I'm here in this universe, because I'm here in this world, because and unfortunately, in other words, I'm here at this moment here because well, that could mean many different things. I know why I'm in Glastonbury right now, to attend the Glastonbury Symposium. I know why I'm at the Glastonbury Symposium. Well, I want to go. But why am I in this world? Why am I this person in this body in this world? And the answer is, I don't know. It seems I sometimes wonder what purpose I serve here. I seem to have nothing in common with nearly all my fellow humans. Things like that. So it's a difficult question. Unless you're like Dr. Michael Newton's right, we choose our own lives for some reason or other. And there's all kinds of theories about why we come to bring positivity in the world and things like that. Maybe that's what I do. Maybe I'm like George, like the guy George in It's a Wonderful Life, And he mentioned Robert Monroe. She says she's been having OBE since she was a little girl. She's been experiencing the night terrors and stuff. Hello. Yeah, hiya. No, sorry, mate. I've got to go. Sorry. Oh yeah. And I've got like a.
I thought he hasn't gone up.
And I've got like a. So what have I? Hello. All right. And I've got like, what am I doing here? What am I bringing positivity in the world or something? Or am I just? Is it all random? Does it all mean nothing? See what I mean? So I have So that's the initial question. She's been having night terrors and OBE since she was a little girl. And she discovered the work of Robert Monroe, which if you're not familiar with him. He's fascinating. He became a kind of 60s and 70s guru when it came to the out-of-body experience. He wrote 2 books, Journey Out of the Body and Journey Out of the Body 2, about his experiences, about how they were kind of where he would find himself literally, like I say, standing outside of himself, looking down, and it would be like and he it's a long complicated thing, but he visited other worlds called Locale 2 and Locale 3 and things like that, which appear to be some kind of spirit world or parallel universe. But he gathered evidence. He set up the Robert Monroe Institute, which actually gathered scientific evidence for it. And one of the things he always said was try to get evidence of the experience. So when she went out of her body, like she tried the Monroe technique. Didn't work for a month, but she persisted, and it happened spontaneously. Oh, and I gave up after a week, which maybe is why can't really complain there, can I? And then and it happened spontaneously. She found herself out of her body. She thought, cool. She flew out the window. She walked down, went to the street, and she could feel everything around her. Enhanced perception is one of the features of being OBE. And then Monroe always said, get evidence. So look for something you don't know is out there, but you can check to see if it's really there, to see if it really is. So she says she went to look at a door number of a door she'd never seen before. Number 18 it turned out to be. So just checking, just readjusting my notes. And she went back there the next day, because she went back to her body eventually. And she went back the next day. And sure enough, it was the number 18. Now, this is the exact opposite of Susan Blackmore, the arch skeptic, renter skeptic as she calls herself. Because Susan Blackmore had an OBE when she was a student in 1970 at St Hilda's College here in Oxford, and it led her. She couldn't corroborate realistically what it was. She said it was vaguely the same, but there was many differences. But she sort of overlooked those, or so she says. And she became very keen on the New Age, and she learned Wicca, and she learned tarot and things like that. And she dropped everything she was doing to do parapsychology to try and prove her experience real, or trying to improve these things real. And then, of course, she had a really awful experience with a colleague. And then she ended up being a skeptic. I don't think those two things are coincidence. Now, there's many benefits of OBEs. You have because what happened was Jade went and studied transpersonal psychology, which is an interesting subject. I've read books by other transpersonal psychologists such as Ken Wilber and Stanislav Grof. Transpersonal psychology is psychology which involves things like the spiritual, and so it's the most obvious one is Carl Jung. He's the best known transpersonal psychologist, but there are many others. She found out that there was benefits. Actually, there's, in terms of on a clinical level, there are benefits in transpersonal psychology, especially for the OBE, because, for example, it reduces the fear of death. And this is an important point. And the skeptics, this ties into MBA and things like that, because the skeptics, the skeptics probably touch on this, but. Sigmund Freud believed that sex was the ultimate suppressed part of human emotion, but he even acknowledged there was something called thanatos, which is the fear of death. And there were other writers have criticised Freud and said no, the biggest suppressed thing is the fear is death. We don't, even though we know intellectually we're going to die, we have a cognitive dissonance associated with it. And some people are very frightened of dying, which is sad, because it leads to a lack of quality of life if you're scared of dying, because it's not like you can avoid dying. Many of these people are atheist-skeptics who don't want to know, who fear annihilation. Some of them are religious people who fear hell. Either way, you lose an awful lot of the quality of life. It stops us living. That's how she put it. Yeah. And there's other things through awe. You feel awe. It gives you a sense of awe for the universe to have an OBE, and there's also something called polyphasic perception, which is altered states of consciousness. Very, very interesting stuff. I'll probably really say even more about this when I've slept a bit. But yeah, it's a shame I had to leave for the end. It was going to go until 9:30 or so. I had to leave it's about 9 o'clock now. But I was just so tired, and I don't think I can really absorb any more information right now. Hopefully I'll sleep better tonight. Alright, I'm back at the house. I've got to get through to the cabin at the back. She's down this little alleyway. Okay, so here we go. Okay, it's about 20 to 11. I'm back in our cabin. This little garden shed structure in someone's back garden. A very comfortable garden shed though. But, I've opened the door because it's so hot in here. The lights are on. So, I'm pointing the camera the other way, don't worry. Apple is. The lights are on in here now. A number of years ago, you just had moths coming in here, wheeling around the lights. There's not a single one. That's worrying. On the Isle of Man, there were plenty of those moths. I found a moth in my bedroom. There were flies everywhere. But here in England, where are all the insects? People say about disappearing insects, and it's true. It's very worrying. Without insects, the rest of life on Earth can't exist. So, I hope we find a solution to this. I really do. Oh, good morning, everyone. It's Saturday morning here in Glastonbury. I'm heading for the venue now for day 2 of the Glastonbury Symposium. You'll be glad to know I slept a hell of a lot better last night. A lot of strange dreams. Very long, complicated dreams. I've heard, I kept hearing this song in my dream. I heard it at least twice in the same dream. And I can't remember all the lyrics, but there was a band or some people singing this song in my dream. And it goes like this. It goes, freedom, la 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 la, freedom. La 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 la, freedom. La 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 la, freedom. I don't know if you've heard that song before, because I mean, Colin's gone ahead of me. I was just thinking, did I just make it up in my dream, or is it something I heard many years ago and then it's sort of like it's come back to me subconsciously without me knowing. I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird, that, isn't it? I thought I've recorded it now anyway. So I don't claim copyright on it, even though I made it up myself. It was a subconscious thing in my dreams. It came from some parallel universe. So go ahead and produce it and get a #1 hit if you want. Freedom, freedom, la 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 la, freedom, la 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 la, freedom. Yeah, it was a quite good, catchy tune if I remember. And yeah, I was at least twice in the same dream. The weather has improved, you'll be glad to know. It's actually a bit of a breeze now, which has cleared the humidity. The sun's coming in and out, so that's nice. I'll hopefully be more comfortable in the venue. Yesterday, this was like being in a bloody Turkish bath. Everyone was sweating, it was horrible. Now, so I'm heading for the venue. It's a bit of confusion. For some reason I've got different starting times every day. Yesterday, of course, it started 10 o'clock. Today it started at 9:30. I only found that out when I woke up. I realised I set my alarm for 10 to 9, so I haven't had any breakfast, just drop a cup of tea, clothes on, and out. I've got my name badge, so that's something. Oh, but it's heading for the high street now. Hope everyone's all right at home. I've had no text messages. Obviously, by the time you watch this, I'll be home. So, in fact, it might be a while before I can upload this because I've got to deal with the hearing thing first. So I'm going to have to do a live stream probably for that. And as I said, I'm being interviewed by other people. I'm interviewing other people. Steve Bassett, Terry Joyce, etc. So, yes, I don't know exactly when you lot were going to be seeing this. So anyway, let's proceed. Ben and I are in the auditorium. This is day 2 now. There should be more people here today because, indeed, it started to build up Friday evening because, of course, it begins on a sort of weekday morning, and so you're going to get a lot of people who's going to kind of turn up later, and there's going to be a lot more people today because it's Saturday. And tomorrow and today and tomorrow are going to be more packed. First speaker is Andy Thomas. He's going to be talking about AI now. As you know, I've done my own video on AI, and I think it's a very interesting thing. So, any particular speakers you're looking forward to, Cole?
Gemma, of course, and Andy. Actually, there's quite a few interesting ones. About synchronicities. Gary King about crop circles.
Yeah. Gemma Cooper. Sorry.
As Mana.
Yes, Samir Osmanagic, yes, Bosnian pyramids guy.
I think they're all pretty good ones today. So.
Yeah. Our friend Gemma Cooper, who is with us, who's been sort of hanging around with us, she's going to be one of the speakers, along with old Col, who's on tomorrow though. Colin's doing his talk tomorrow, and so yeah, this is going to be good. It's going to be another fine day, I think. I haven't had breakfast yet. Again, I'm going to skip. I might skip a speaker or two simply to get out and about, do some more things. So I want to have a look at the bookshops and the alleyways, which you can't really do you can't really do that on a Sunday. So I'm going to do that today sometime. So here we go. I'm looking forward to this. I just come out of the first session in the morning, and just Tony and Colin there. Hi guys. All right. How are you? Hi, very nice to see you too. Oh, you've been to that one as well. Oh, that was a good one.
I found a T-shirt the other day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was there.
Yeah, I remember.
But I just I found that fascinating what Andy was talking about. Really brilliant.
It's amazing. The pictures are it's unbelievable. I mean, the way he puts it so clear, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it was absolutely extraordinary. I'm just going to do a review of his talk now. I've got so much to, I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm going to have a little stroll up this way. I'll see you later.
Yeah, see you
guys later. Yeah, and I should talk a bit more about what he said, because that was an absolutely fascinating talk he just made. And now down the Ian R. Crane steps. Was it these ones or the other ones he broke his leg on? I can't remember. Anyway, I can't really ask him now to clarify. Andy began with describing his visit to the Houses of Parliament, and I really think that's something I should do myself. Really, go and visit the Houses of Parliament, because he went into various places, saw various parts of it, and it was quite amusing actually, because I didn't know this. The MPs have to vote by electronic voting now. It's really strange. I mean, you see them go out to vote, and you think they're just going to put like bits of paper in your ballot slips in boxes. That's what I always thought happened. They just put ballot slips in boxes. Now they vote electronically. Of course, that can be manipulated, can't it? What happens is when they go out of the chamber, you see them all filing out through the little doors at the side, and there's a bell that rings. Apparently, that's called the division bell, which of course is an album by Pink Floyd. But it's called that's what it is. It's called the division bell. And then what's interesting is they're thinking of moving the Parliament. I didn't know this, but they might have to move Parliament because some parts of it are in very, very bad condition. I mean, Elizabeth Tower, more commonly known as Big Ben, is being renovated right now, but large other areas are going to have to be as well, including the part of the building which includes the House of Commons. The House of Commons chamber and the area around it are going to have to have massive repairs that are going to cost about £1 billion. It could take 86 years. I mean, I think maybe that's an exaggeration, but certainly could take a number of years. I think they're going to have maybe have a temporary parliament for a while, and I think that's symbolic of. Andy says that's symbolic of the rot set into this particular, set into the whole thing, the whole of politics. There are some good MPs, but the culture at Westminster enforces the idea that we're the peasants. I mean, there's Andrew Bridgen, of course, who's still an MP, even though he's, of course, he's now been essentially expelled from the Conservatives. He's no longer in the Tories. either parliamentary or generally, and the infrastructure's collapsing at the same time. There's roads are crumbling, the NHS is in crisis. As Brian Gerrish said, nothing works anymore. And network and water companies are just now parasitic profit drains. Well, they're pouring sewage into rivers. Now, if you watch my graffiti videos, you'll know that the one particular artwork that has been preserved in Oxford is the Thames Water Fat Bastard, as I call him. He also mentions Mariana Spring, or Mariana Trench, as Niall Murphy calls her. But then he says something strange. He says she's not wrong about conspiracy culture. I don't know if... Andy and I do disagree on a few things. It's not a secret. I'm probably more extreme than he is. But I couldn't see anything she was right about. The World Health Organization talking about the next pandemic. Why do I keep hearing this phrase, next pandemic, all the time? Miles, that is psychedelic, man.
Not Miles, I'm Richard.
Sorry, yes.
Everybody here's Richard. If you look at yourself, you're
That's
Richard.
right. Oh, I'm Richard Vobes too.
Richard.
Right.
Hello, Richard.
Hi, Richard. Nice to see you, Richard. Yeah.
No matter which way you put that around, it'll always turn around to Richard.
It does, doesn't it? I know.
Yeah, well, Richard, you just get on with it, Richard, and just do what Richard says, because I'm Richard and you are as well.
Exactly, yes. And we're going to hear ourselves speak on Sunday night. So, now one element I think Andy's right about is where he talks about shell culture. And that there's too much division within the truth movement, and people always, the truth movement has its own tyrants. I've experienced this a lot lately. Hello, how you doing? I've actually lost someone I considered a friend recently, a very long-term friend, because they had turned into one of these truth tyrants. And they're like the backslappers and people like that, I have, yeah. Now it's interesting. Now I thought when I knew that Andy was going to talk about AI, I kind of made a prediction last night that he would bring up Dune, the Frank Herbert series of stories, which series of books. They've been made into films, some better than others, as you know from my previous videos I made. He brings up the Butlerian Jihad. Now, for those of you familiar with the franchise, you may notice in both. In fact, I noticed in both the film adaptations, the superior David Lynch one from the 80s and the modern and the 2020s Denis Villeneuve one, which is not as good. There seems to be a distinct lack of electronics, despite the fact they have space travel and high technology. It has a very steampunk feel to it, and the reason is because. Hi Mark, you're right. There's Mark Devlin. How you doing, mate? You're right. There's basically a war. At some point, the artificial intelligence tries to take over, and there's a war by humans have to fight a war against the AIs, and it's called the Butlerian Jihad. And the humans win, and all intelligent thinking machines are then outlawed, and they can't be made anymore. But he talks about how AI is going to overturn everything, such as art. They create art, they create poetry. He gives some examples of AI poetry, and things like that. And so it's making everyone redundant, it seems. And he says there's going to be mass unemployment within a few years, literally. Most people, in fact, all people it could be, turn out will not be able to get a job because there'll be computers to do it for us. But how does the economy work in such a situation? Because if everyone's unemployed, no one makes money, because the base of the economy is people generate capital by selling their labour. That's what I do. That's what most people do. And then if you can't do that, how is capital generated? See what I mean? So that's something that's going to have to be worked out. It's going to change everything. It's going to change. I mean, if he designs Christmas cards, he can even write poetry. Slogans for Christmas cards. As an amusement, Andy got it to write a poem about Christmas and crop circles, and the AI did it. It did it within 10 seconds. And of course, now AI is now becoming a massive thing. It's advanced so much in the last few years, and because just 2 or 3 years ago, people said, "AI, what's that?" And now everyone knows what it is. Everyone has ChatGPT. And the reason is because AIs are now writing their own upgrades. They have metastasized into something that is self-sustaining and self-growing, and they can write their own they can actually improve themselves and write their own upgrades at a speed 1,000 times faster than a human programmer. 1,000 times faster. Which is why we've had this explosion in AI sophistication just in the last 2 years or so. It's going to change the science, medicine, art, banking, science, medicine, industry, military, journalism, books, art, education. Yeah, I mean, we already know that kids are using ChatGPT to do their homework for them. Well, maybe someone's going to say, well, maybe that's not such a bad idea. At least they're learning from the chatbot. In which case, you don't need teachers. Actors, yeah, you can. Have you seen that video of Morgan Freeman? There's a video, and you think it's Morgan Freeman just sitting in a room talking. It's his voice, it's his appearance, and he looks and it's him. And he does this report, and he says, by the way, I am not Morgan Freeman. I'm an AI computer-generated image, and my voice is not me. It's artificially generated. I mean, there's a film from the 70s called Looker, which is well worth seeing. I did a review of it on Pan My Voice. It's had Albert Finney. It's from a long time ago, 1970 something, which is about a situation where artificial intelligence is like it's taken the image of actors and actresses, and they're creating computer-generated films, which are indistinguishable from the original. And as a result, there's this plot to murder all the actors and actresses for the purposes of copyright. Hello, doggy. There's a little doggy there. Hello. And so that could come true. I don't know if they'll actually murder the actors and actresses, but they will certainly they will certainly be on the dole queue. I mean, this is what this strike's all about in Hollywood, which Bryce Zabel is involved in as well. And of course, there's an enormous potential for censorship. And funny enough, as you know, I'm not going to go into details on this because I've done an entire video about AI. It's called "Should We Welcome Our AI Overlords?" But Andy had a conversation with a chatbot and asked it all kinds of questions about conspiracy theories, and it gave him the same response that I got. A very, very long monologue about, sometimes government keeps secrets, but conspiracy theories don't stand up to science and things like that. Most conspiracy theories are nonsense, and it gave that. Now I got that as well, but it didn't give Andy the response. The sinister response I got, of course, was when I asked it about what the New World Order was. It said. It says at the end, it says, if you are experiencing something like if you're experiencing feelings of despair and depression or rage and helplessness, please seek professional help. Of course, it is kind of what's the word? It's kind of programmed, I think, to look out for people who might be like that, ask questions like that, because it's concerned I might carry out some kind of terrorist atrocity. So I wouldn't do, of course, but that's what it thinks I'm going to do. But then he says something very different. He says something very interesting. He says, this is very similar to Dune, actually, in the Butlerian Jihad. But there's something similar in 2001, Stanley Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey. I mean, and he says, this film from 1968, way ahead of its time, very prescient. And of course, if you watch it, you'll know. And it's a book by Arthur C. Clarke as well, came out at the same time. Of course, it represents this battle between natural humanity and artificial intelligence in the form of Hal versus Dave Bowman. I mean, you've probably seen it, and then the spoilers are a bit redundant, but of course what happens is the computer Hal develops a psychosis, and it's only in the sequel 2010 you find out why. It's to do with the secrecy it had to keep from the astronauts, but because of the conspiracy to keep the monolith quiet. But it was a secret mission to investigate the monolith, which Hal would conduct alone and not tell the astronauts, and this drove him nuts because computers aren't supposed to lie, and things like that. There's that very poignant line, I don't think it's in the book, it's in the film. Hal lost his mind because he was told to lie by people who find it easy to lie. Hal doesn't know how. Well, anyway, the computer HAL, you know, it decides to kill the astronauts, and it does it with one exception. One man survives, Dave Bowman. Dave Bowman is the only astronaut who survived, and as the sole survivor of this massacre, he foils the attempts of the computer to kill him. He then has to just shut down the computer, and then so he goes into the computer's womb-like computer bank, and he takes out all these sort of like little these things, these blocks, and it's very interesting. And it's sad in a way because it's sadder in the book because Hal pleads for his life and says, "I'm going to become stupid. Please don't do this, Hal. Stop, Dave, and things like this. What are you doing, Dave?" But of course, in the end, then Bowman goes into this wormhole that takes him to this weird, surreal end. There's this surreal conclusion, which is like with Silent Night. It's open to interpretation, and people have spent years of their life trying to work out what the ending means. But it appears that the aliens have send then Bowman back to Earth as a star child, whereas if Hal had won that particular battle, it would be sending AIs. You know, AIs would be the inheritors of human civilization. It's a very interesting concept, actually. Now, Andy didn't cover everything I thought is important about AI, and that's not a criticism. That's not a criticism, because he probably didn't have time. But there's the idea of consciousness. Now, again, I mean, you'd have to talk for 2 hours about that, but and I do cover it myself in my particular video about this subject. Is AI alive, in a sense, conscious? Not just intelligent, but conscious. Because if it has a consciousness, it changes everything. Because it's then essentially there's an ethical issue with how we'd have to have we'd have to have AI rights. They'd have to have legal rights the way animals do in our society. If it turns out that AIs were actually conscious, not just intelligent but alive, they had feelings as well as thoughts. Luckily, that doesn't seem to be the case at present. But who knows what the future will bring. That was absolutely fascinating talk there by Andy. I spoke these tie-dye dresses here. Absolutely fascinating talk by Andy Thomas there. Really, really good. One of the best. And so now I'm going to... I don't know what I'm going to do next. I'll let you know. Well, the Bag End shop. It's a Hobbit. It's like a Hobbit thing. It's shut at the moment, as you can see. But I thought I'm going to miss Ian Lynch. Which is, again, like as with yesterday in Natasha Leach, it's not that I don't want to see them or I think it's going to be boring, it's that I want to spend the time doing other things, because if I don't, I won't have time to do these other things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explore Glastonbury High Street. I'm going to go down one side then the other, because as I've said, you know, this lovely little town here, this really heart of hippiedom, is bisected by this very busy through road, and there's only a couple of crossings. We have here, look, this is a shop called Figaro de Montemanti. Always close to the highest vibration. I guess Italian. Can't speak that. It's got lovely ambient music coming out of it, which you can't hear because there's a bus over there. But it's just the things it's got in the window. I'll show you those here. The Gospel of Thomas and Mary Magdalene there. The ambient music in there now. I'm not going to go into all these shops, I don't have time, but I'll show you them from the outside. What's the word for when you have one script made to look like another? That's of course made to look like the Indian Hindi script, but it says it's actually the Latin script. Normani vintage. I don't know what the word is when it's not transcription, I don't know what it is. Chocolate Love Temple. Oh, based. Cash welcome here, Nazis. There we are. Oh, this is upcoming. There's always some kind of conference or something else going on here, and we have here Hugh Newman. You may recognise some of these names here. Yeah, Hugh Newman, Paul Jenkins. There we are, and there's all these people here. Some of them are a little bit more, a bit more far out than even me. This is the Queen's Head. And there's lots of witch stuff here, look. Be a witch. Broomsticks. No, the broom park. That's where the witches leave their broomsticks. The wonky broomstick with their fine oils, herbs, resins and anything magical. Nice. Foot Health Clinic, that's a charity shop there. Secret World Swan Rescue. I don't have time to go into all these things, unfortunately. But they said they're not perfect. They still have that flag there. You can have your hair cut there. There's some conventional things here. Urban estates. This is all. There are some normal shops along here, just along with all the really cute, weird ones. And they have the old Chinese restaurant and takeaway, Oriental chef. There's a really great curry house down here actually, which we went in there with, I think it was with Megalithomania, and it's a really good curry house. Plainways Nursery. Oh, it's a church, right. Heart of the Tribe. More great images. There's the Chalice Well, a symbol there. It's like art and things here. Gallery and garden. You can spend a week just going down this shop alone. Ashok and Barali, organic cotton, recycled silk. And you have everything here that you can see in there, every self-respecting, fashionable hippie should be wearing. This shop doesn't seem to have a name, but it has lots of artwork. This looks like stone as the Buddha and angel wings. This is chips and curls. All right, this is another barber's. Tour pet supplies. Got a pet shop here. Earth Fair. Now, you get lots of like organic groceries and things in there. Beckett's Inn. I remember that was quite a nice place. I've been in there to this pub across the road. We did go in there one time. I wonder who lives down these dark alleyways. We'll have a look more at some of the alleyways later. Curtain pole interiors, alright. Well, that's more like it. I prefer that flag to the other one I just showed you. Now this here is the curry house I told you about. It's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, what are you up to?
We have here Abbey News, so this is a newsagent's general store, I think. Oh, you go through here and there's like more things. This is actually like a kind of like arcade. I remember this. Hey, Wales. Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
And the only other ones, a couple of the white ones. And I thought they'll go over there. Yeah. Pardon.
The comic store, I see. There's like a little, there's all kinds of things in here, I remember. It's like a mini arcade. Books. Oh, look at these pictures. Aren't they lovely? Hope they're not AI generated. Wall tapestries. Probably not, I don't think they're lovely, aren't they? Books, here you can buy books. There's all good, even like the charity shops and things like really, really interesting books because, what you call June. You have Dune. Frank Herbert's Dune, which I've read. The Dig. All right. There's lots of sci-fi, lots of stuff like that. Oh, there's more lovely pictures there. And tarot shops for tarot readings and stuff like that. That's a nameless cafe. Organic wine, beers and spirits. Oh, it's a kind of a bar. Nice. 100 Monkeys Cafe. Oh, I like that. 100 Monkeys. Cocktails and things there as well. Do you have the critical mass coffee? Do you have a critical mass coffee? The Avalon Club. I'll show you the other side more in a minute. Here we are, look. It's like the Holy Grail there. Fairyland Aromatics. Ravenay. I guess that's. You can stay right in the heart of Glastonbury here. If you want to. Alright. Even the charity shops are like kind of worth looking into because they're the kind of books that everyone reads around here, which are like the books in the bookshops I'm going to show you in a minute. So I might go in and have a look just for a moment. Coffee Zero. I didn't find anything particularly interesting in that shop. I won't film every moment of this journey, just the interesting bits. Natural Earthling. Again, more hippie fashion. DVDs of various kinds. So, Enlightenment. Nice. Nice shops here. Of course, the Co-op, where I've been before. I mean, that used to be like an independent supermarket. I mean, it could have been worse. Could have been taken over by Tesco, but the thing about Tesco is like, I think it will be vandalised within 2 days here. If they set up at Tesco here. Co-op is slightly better, I suppose. There's a couple more conventional shops on here, and charity shops and things. Silver Street. Oh, that was where that's. And here we are. Silver Street is where that lecture was on Thursday night, which I didn't go and see. And here we are, Labyrinth Books of Glastonbury. I've been in here before. Just check out a lot of these books are kind of like. It's like that book I showed you with Anthony Peake. That bookshop I showed you where Anthony Peake was, and a lot of it is like even sort of beyond me in terms of sort of yin kind of thing, but I still do sometimes find things I like about shops like this. Just going to go and have a look. Well, I've come out of Labyrinth Books now. I did buy a book. I'll show you what it is when I get around to Souvenirs time. And now we're heading further down the high street here. We have this little. These are nice, aren't they? These little nature spirit books. Nature spirit place. There for hours. Down here. Another cafe. Another cafe here. Tourist Street, honestly, I could misspend my youth in this one street alone, couldn't I? And there's, oh look, they're nice, aren't they? Rather saucy angel there with a dragon on her lap. More goddess type figures. There's a pregnant goddess here, isn't it? It's like the earth in her belly, the earth in her womb, it's Earth Mother. Oh, smart. Do you see the smoke coming out? It's joss stick. It's lovely, that is. That's filling the whole street. 4 Seasons here. And here's the famous Welsh baker, burns the bread. And there we go along here. There's another bookshop down here I'll go into. And this is Yin Yang. Now this is the way you go around these little alleyways. I always find them fascinating. There's that Yin Yang symbol. There's the assembly rooms, which is where we had a conference in there. It was the Now That's Weird conference in 2008. I'll never forget that. We have all kinds of really cool stuff back here. Look at it. This is much nicer bunting than the one they got in the G&P gallery. I mean, you can never see all of this. It's just too much. And there's just so much of it. That's the assembly rooms in there. That was a great conference. It was a one-off conference, really was good. There's a gallery there. But these little alleyways hold so many secrets. Someone lives in there. What an amazing place to live. I'd probably, if I lived here, I'd probably become very ungrounded, and I probably would lose my, I don't know, I might lose my kind of drive. That's the problem. That's the thing you risk when you're in Glastonbury, actually. It's sometimes the energy is just so intense they can detach you from the more books, art supplies. Festival of Death sounds interesting. Solstice of Death. My God, this is very cheerful, I must say. One working journal. I'm going to go in there and have a look. Some interesting stuff, like the kind of books, like I should tell you more about Labyrinth books. I don't want to film in there because, like, you shouldn't do that without permission if it's a private place. But they had like like I say, they didn't have the kind of books I'd really be into. Not what you see on my, different from my bookshelf, which I've shown you. What you had like I'll go with this one in a minute. You had kind of there was some good stuff in there. There was a first edition of Supernature by Lyle Watson, which is an absolute classic. I've got a paperback version of that, which I think I've shown you. And they had like some Colin Wilson, of course, who's very big around here. He was a hospital porter, of course, as I keep saying. So I did mention that a few times. Let's have a look at this. This is more my sort of scene. I remember I did buy a couple of books from this shop years ago. Dark Fleet, the secret Nazi space program, the battle for the solar system. See, that's more the kind of thing I like. But we'll go in there and have a look around anyway, see what's in there. Love, Sex, Fear, Death. Sounds like a Woody Allen film. The inside story of the Process Church Final Judgment. Alright. Oh, anyway, here we go then, anyway. I've bought another book in there. That book is very similar actually to the other book, the Labyrinth books I showed you earlier. This Courtyard book. It's actually a back door, if you can just see it there, into the Glastonbury Experience Courtyard. Imagination, transformation, inspiration. I remember this from last time. I'll show you the book, by the way. I'll show you the book during the. I'll show you the book when I do souvenirs. Just gonna have a little look in here. Now that is still there. That amazing mural. Now I remember this mural from last time I was here. I remember that. It's still here. They've kept it for over 13 years. That's great. Must have to redo it though a few times to keep it fresh. And of course notice boards for various things. The Bridget Healing Centre. Oh, this is unbelievable. It's just unbelievable what they got here. And this is more from Courtyard Books. This is like an overspill from the bookshop I've just been in. Now look at these. Not many of these books, there's not a lot of fiction here. Because whenever I go into a bookshop, of course you know the books I look for, don't you? The ones I wrote. But they didn't have any of the Roswell trilogy because they only had both these shops only have a handful of fiction. There you go, some more. You come along here. There we got Courtyard Books. That's the bookshop I just came out of, and you can sit here and have a cup of coffee. That's a nice statue there. Goddess Temple. But once again, nobody's perfect. But there you go. The Library of Avalon. My Player Tantric Shop. Oh, nice. Stone Age. Got loads of stuff here. And look at that, that's lovely. I think that's Moses in a basket with a baby. Miracles Room. Oh my God, I've got to go there. Could do with one of those. I left my heart in Glastonbury. Yeah, I know. I know the feeling. So now, can have a quick look through some of these shops. There's more through here. Look, Stone Age. Oh, Oh, look at the crystals in the wall. Isn't that lovely? I don't think this was here last time I came here. And in the ground. This is incredible, look at this. Look at that little garden. Look at this. Look at this little garden. You alright, darling? You lost? He's in there, is he? Alright, he's probably just going to the toilet then. Alright, yeah, we are in a minute. Look at that Buddha there. And there's people put the ribbons on above the Buddha. Look at that amazing expression. Amazing expression there. Bit of smoke just went past me. You can smell it now. Look at the pyramid. Look at this. There's your green man. This is incredible. Look at these lovely crystals. I'm going to go in here and have a look. That goddess temple gift shop was quite interesting. It's and it was a bit cringy actually, because the New Age, that is the alternative kind of spiritual circles, they have their own brand of feminism, which sometimes borders on, or it has similarities to, and it's the more conventional kind, and it can be. Although it's not, to me, it's far less malevolent than the existing kind, but it can have its own. It can have its own kind of nastiness. And if you go in that shop, there's actually pictures of Emmeline Pankhurst, of course, the communist who campaigned for women to have voting, things like that. Which is not, and this is right next to pictures of, pregnant goddesses in fields and things like that. Do you see what I mean? There's that kind of weird overlap between the conventional secular feminism and this kind of spiritual type. I'm going to have to. That's a lovely hibiscus there. The screevers are out again. That's not finished yet. I'll show you that one. But this is lovely. It's still there. Survive the night. Or if it rains later, obviously it only lasts for as long as there's no rain. I'm going to see if I can meet up with any of my friends. The wizard is back. The wizard is there again. Hello, Mr. Wizard. How do you do? Patricus Totalis. How do you do? And we're back at the venue. I mean, by now the forum will have started, and I'm not going to walk in there halfway through, so I think it might be too late. But I'll see if anyone's in the cafe or the other areas. All right, so yeah. And the mushroom lady's back too. Return to the venue now. It's too late to go in and see the forum, but I have ordered myself a simple meal. And I'm sitting here in the cafe. This is the venue cafe. It's very nice. Got lots of gluten-free and veggie stuff as well for people. On over there. There's people singing and dancing. I've got to go over there and have a look. Try and get across the road. Fucking road. They'll be finished by the time I get over there. I'll try and film them from this side. Look. Look at this. lovely, isn't it? Oh, very nice, very nice. That was lovely. That's the kind of thing. That's typical of Glastonbury. That is, and things like this, sort of like break out just spontaneously. And God, I'm going to miss this place when I go. I really will. I actually met Jeff Stray. He's here, the guy, the 2012 guy, and I was talking to him about it. He lives around here, and I said, if I lived here, if I spent too long here, I'd just find the outside world unbearable. And I said, you know, you get a massive come down at the end of these conferences, like the post-pro blues. But don't mind, it's not here yet. Got another 2 days to go. So yeah, enjoy it. We're sitting in this pub garden now with Colin and our friends, and of course you can't beat a bit of the light. Yeah, there is a guy walking around giving out the light. So if I find any copies, I'll pick one up myself, because it's absolutely fantastic paper. This is. Guys, there's only 10 minutes. I've got a very quick 10-minute break before Gemma Cooper comes on. This guy, he was very, very interesting indeed. This is Gary King talking about crop circles. He talks about the power of stories, and he's a guy who he trained as a lawyer but lived a conventional life. But then he met a teacher who was always anonymous. He only photographs him from the back, and this teacher introduced him. He got introduced to crop circles to the famous Southfield formation in 1997, and a lot of things were happening in 1997. So, for example, Hale Bopp, the comet, came past. This is a bit of an infamous comet because it led to the death of the suicide of the Heaven's Gate cult. And people think I'm nuts, you know, there's nothing compared to them. Hale Bopp, luckily, will not be back until March the 22nd, 4397 AD. So, plenty of time for that. Eat plenty of roughage. Dolly the sheep's cloned. Blair became PM, talking about his third way. Diana's died. And he talks about the coyote effect. Some things you only know when it happens. This refers to the cartoon character Wile E. Coyote, who in some of the cartoons he steps off a cliff. You must have seen this, but he doesn't actually fall straight away. He sort of like moves along as if he's still walking on ground. He doesn't realise he's walked off the cliff. He hasn't noticed, and so he doesn't fall. And then suddenly he looks down and he realises he's hanging in midair, and then he falls. So who's making the crop circles? Now there's something called The Power of the Storyteller by Yuval Noah Harari. He quotes Yuval Noah Harari, who's a horrible individual, works very closely with Klaus Schwab. But he likes, Gary likes the Kung Fu. Gary likes the TV show Kung Fu. Now you may remember this if you're old enough. It was David Carradine plays a Buddhist monk who goes on a quest of self-discovery around the Wild West. Very good that was. He learned martial arts. He read The Harmony of the Spheres. Now, The Harmony of the Spheres, I didn't know this, right? It was written by someone called Othniel C. Haynes. Now, no one really knew who this character was. It turns out it's simply a pseudonym for Michael Glickman. A circle encodes both infinite and finite geometry. I'm not sure exactly. I didn't quite pay attention there. Because things such as pi means it's impossible to know the exact proportions of a circle, or because it's always curved. You can estimate it very closely, but you can never know it exactly. It's infinite. I'm not sure what the finite comes into it. He says, if you want peace, understand conflict. This is why I like the film Zulu, although he never mentioned Zulu. But the film Zulu is about that. I've written an article about that on Hapanmo Voice. Lots of yin-yang symbols appear in crop circles. And along with them, what you find in crop circles, there's a tantalising threefold geometry encoded, like they're supposedly like it's a binary. There's the black tadpole shaped and curve, and then there's the white one. But there's like a third element to these, which is very, very strange. There's a very interesting one appeared on the 7th of July 2007, which is of course when the London bombing happened. He mentions the Vasa capiscus and the fractal. Flowers have fivefold geometry with pentagrams in geometry in it. Within the pentagram there's fivefold geometry, because it's like if you have a perfect circle and you put a pentagram inside it, there's like a small circle in the middle, and that's the proportion of a daisy between its outer petals and its inner carpels, they call it. Quintuplets, you see the same thing in quintuplet crop circles. The first one appeared in 1983. He mentions chi, that he did a demonstration of chi power, or showed a film of a guy just touching a guy like that and he wheels backwards. That's chi. He mentions the fascia, which is like a part of the network of cells in the human body, and how Buckminster Fuller, who's an interesting chap, was also knew about fivefold geometry. He says if you see the same things appear writ large, for example, the mycelium, which is the roots of a fungus. The roots of fungus is called the mycelium. It's what's underneath the tree. It's exactly the same as other things, such as the cosmic filaments. Cosmic filaments are the largest structures known in the universe because they're millions of light years across. Yeah, it's a very interesting talk there by Gary King. Our friend Gemma Cooper is on next, so stay tuned for that. Well, we just had a very, very inspiring talk there by Gemma Cooper. Gemma said it's her first talk at Glastonbury Symposium, although I've seen her do talks at other places, and she said it's time to tell my story. And she talks about how her humble background and how she rose to the higher ranks of being a journalist, both at the newspaper and then at the BBC. Now, I know the story just because I know Gemma personally. I've known her for a long time. We've been good friends for quite a number of years now. She is someone who started going to probe actually when she was still at the BBC. And I called her Jenny. I gave her the name Jenny. Some of you will remember, because I didn't want to jeopardise her career. As it happened, I did say at the time, though, you know, it's difficult not to jeopardise your career if you're that kind of person, you have that kind of interest. But she describes how she felt guided into going into the BBC. Her career felt fast-tracked, as she felt it was like she was being guided by her higher self, or source, or daemon, or whatever you call it. And she applied for a job at the BBC, and she heard her guide's voice in her ear saying, "You're going to get that job." And she was kind of like, this has often happened to her, and she had similar feelings when she had to leave. And indeed, this is something that resonates with me, because I felt the same thing. If you ever read my report about when I got kicked out of the hospital portering service, you'll know that. You'll have seen my own sense of intuition, being intuitively guided. The reason was, David Icke, of course, faced the same thing at the BBC. She had a spiritual awakening. This is the thing, and she says a lot of interesting things. News is the same as entertainment. Now, a lot of other people have said this, how we have this idea that there's this bifurcation in the media between what's real and what's not real. There's news, there's reports, there's journalism, there's commentary, there's political commentary, political documentaries, things like that. And on the other hand, on the other side, there's fiction, there's things that are not real. Movies, TV shows, soap operas, light entertainment, quiz shows. And as Gemma points out very quickly, there's actually no difference between these two things. Both have scripts, both have production design, both have directors, actors, things like that. Newsreaders are like the actors. Reporters are like the actors in movies. And she makes a note of the word program, because program in English it's a homophone. There's program meaning a program as a noun, a TV program with 2 M's and an E, or a computer program, but also the verb to program. And she talks about hypnotic states. What happens with things like hypnosis is you have a hypnotic state, which is where your brain goes into starts producing alpha brain waves. And when that happens, it's not as dramatic as it sounds. It's not literally programming, but it's analogous to that because it's putting ideas into your head that can become part of your core beliefs. The subject of Mariana Spring came up, of course, and Gemma said, in an alternative universe, I could be Mariana Spring. She's not necessarily evil or malevolent, she's just within the system and she's their kind of person. There's a lot of conformists at the BBC and a lot of double standards. For example, she was dragged into a disciplinary because she went to anti-lockdown protests. This was just a couple of weeks after many BBC staff went to the BLM protest in Bristol. She went to a lockdown protest in Bristol, and she was told it's different though. People are allowed to go on anti-racist protests, but you're not allowed to go on anti-lockdown protests. They were literally saying it that there was a double standard. But Gemma since then has gone from strength to strength. She's come out into her own identity. She's now open about who she is. She uses her own name, and she started a brand new career in the alternative media. With her skills, of course, she's gone a long way. She's worked for Iconic, and she's done things for UK Column. I mean, she's doing things. I wish, as I just said, I just saw someone who said, I wish they were all like her. I wish there were more like her. I wish there were more alternative people. I was thinking of more people within the institutions who would think in an alternative way and act on it. It would only take a small number to transform that institution and make it, hello, how are you?
Yeah, I saw you earlier.
Good to see you. Nice to see you.
Couldn't miss this one.
I know. It's great to be back actually after 13 years.
I thought that
I met someone. I'm talking. And do you want to be on her Panmo TV? You don't, alright. I won't put you on her Panmo TV.
I'm a bit more on the retreat side.
Fair enough. Yeah. But this is. I was just telling my viewers here about Gemma's talk.
Oh yeah.
Very
Wasn't good.
It was excellent. I know Gemma well. And I'm glad. I just wish more of her colleagues would do the same thing. You know. I
know.
just wish they would.
But they don't fly over the cuckoo's nest or whatever it is.
They only
comfy.
Yeah. They only the Illuminati only get away with what they do because not enough people will resist them.
I know. But she's rare, Ben. There's not many that have her because she's different.
Hopefully there'll be more. I mean, it only takes a minority to change things, and my hope is that Gemma will inspire other people to do the same. That's what I hope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if it's like a disproportionate one jumping has a disproportionate. You know, because so few do.
Yeah.
You know, the ripple effect and all that.
That's true, yeah.
So,
that's true. Exactly. Well,
it is good.
Hopefully it'll gather.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe what a lovely day it is. Not today. I mean,
it's so nice now, yeah.
So nice.
It's been breezy, it's been sunny, it's been cooler, it's been lovely, yeah. It's been lovely.
I've been inside most of it.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I've now come out. I think it looks as if Souvenirs Osmanagic's first talk is going to be, well, it may be cancelled or it'll be cut very short. There's a massive amount of technical problems. The computer seems to have broken down, and I mean it must be very frustrating for Sam and of course very embarrassing for the organisers. But sometimes these things is not necessarily anyone's real fault. With Miles Simon, he's a bit like Hecklefish on the Wi-Fi.
No, I'm not. You're meant to say, oh yes, I am.
Oh yes, he is. But anyway, it looks like sadly, I think Mr. Osmanagic's first talk is either going to be cancelled or very truncated, which is sad. It's a shame. And
I just got told by the technical people to stay away, and I wasn't going to be there.
I mean, they're doing their best, I think, to try and restart it, but it was just painful to watch. I came out. It's really horrible to watch. But anyway, I'm now going to just sit around out here for a bit, maybe find the others, and then go maybe have a drink or something. Yeah. All right then. So it's kind of like it's a nice evening actually. So that's something. Well, it's turned into a kind of It's turned into a very warm, fresh evening actually here in Glastonbury. I decided to go back and drop my books off. Salons Magnagic will be doing a part 2 at 6:10. By then, hopefully their technical problems will be solved. So it'll be a 1 part only. Although we've got some old newspapers. They've left some new things to read. I'm not sure I want to read the Radio Times particularly. That's very interesting. I'm sure Gemma will be very amused because, of course, Radio Times is published by the BBC, isn't it? So I'm going to head back to the cabin, just drop my books off, and then take a slow walk back. Got time to do that just before Sam goes back onto stage at 6:10. So it's a shame when that happens. I mean, it's sad when that happens, but you know it does occasionally happen, and sometimes it's nobody's fault. Sometimes it's just a glitch in a machine, things like that. Sometimes there's something incompetence or something going on, but you never know. Either way, I'm looking forward to hearing the second part about the Bosnian pyramids. I should point out I was talking to somebody who told me basically that the Bosnian pyramid thing is a fraud. If you go to Wikipedia, it's described as a pseudo-archaeology. I think somebody invited Dr. Robert Schoch to come and examine the pyramid, because Schoch, of course, supported Graham Hancock in the redating of the Sphinx and of the Sphinx in Egypt. It was much older than was previously thought. But Schoch examined it and said, "No, this is just a natural hill. There's some man-made tunnels in it, but it's not actually a pyramid." And according to this person I spoke to, Schoch, he had to flee the country basically because he was receiving death threats from somebody. I don't know whether there's some kind of scam involving the organised crime. I mean, this sort of thing does happen in Eastern Europe quite a bit. But either way, so I'm going to do that because as the sun is always in the wrong place when you want to do these recordings, I'll do this because I'll just do it that way because the sun's in the wrong place. And I suppose they did ask his opinion, didn't they? I mean, they brought him over to the country. They asked him for his opinion, and he gave it to them. Can't complain if it's the opinion you don't like. If you ask someone what they think, they're going to tell you. Was he supposed to lie? This sort of thing has happened to me, by the way. I've never received death threats as a result, but I've received a lot of anger. When people ask me what I think and I tell them and they don't like it. Yeah. I'm willing to hear both sides of this story. I mean, I've seen pictures of there's pictures of the Vizachicha pyramid. It does look artificial to me. It's it's completely regular, straight sides, faces the cardinal points, things like that. Very big. I mean, if it's artificial, it's twice the size of the Great Pyramid of Egypt. But of course, there's always other sides to these stories. I mean, there's similar structures in Antarctica, you see, which have never been studied, never been examined, never even been visited. So there's a lot of mysteries around the world going on, and I know we have been lied to about our past. There was an antediluvian civilization, I believe, that has been removed from the history books. We're told basically we lived as savages in tribal groups and small communities until about 3000 BC when Sumer appeared. But I don't buy that at all. Nearly home now. You can see here the scribing is now finished. It was I showed you earlier. The etymological root of the word government, Gubernare, to steer and control. Oh, right. What on earth is happening.com, yeah. I noticed in the United States they still use the word gubernatorial when they refer to the governors of the states. In Lakech. Oh, Slaxer! Slaxer, if only you were here. I am another thing. No measure. This is well adjusted to a profoundly sick society due to Krishnamurti. Yeah, and Martin Luther King actually paraphrased that one. The Crow House, UK column, davidoik.com, brilliant. That's beautiful, it really is. Let's hope the rain stays off for a while so that it's preserved. And this other one is still here thanks to the dry weather. That's great, isn't it? Anyway, better get to the venue. They're starting in a minute. I'm returning now to the cabin. I went into the venue, and apparently Sam Osmanagic, he's going to do both his talks concurrently. They haven't cancelled the first one. It's started very late, so they're going to keep going on with no break. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm too I don't know. I'm too polite, I suppose. Maybe I shouldn't be. I don't want to go in there halfway through. You know, if he's going to do it, I don't know. He is going to do both of them together, to both the talks concurrently. Sorry, not concurrently, consecutively. And this sounds like a prison sentence, doesn't it? Consecutively, which means we have to go in halfway through, and I mean that's, I don't know, I don't like that. That sounds, I don't know, impolite somehow. So I'm not gonna bother. I mean, I can look it up another time, and Sam will probably be around tomorrow, so I can maybe talk to him. But I'm familiar with the Bosnian pyramid story anyway, and I can always look up more information. I'm now going to just go back to the cabin. There's Mark and Liz were in there, so hopefully they're still in there. I'll just have a glass of wine with them, I think. So I've texted the others. They've not answered my texts, so I don't know where they are, which means they're probably in the auditorium. So because they can't reply. So not to worry, guys, not to worry. Things didn't go quite according to plan this evening, but I'm still having a good time. I've been in the house just for an hour watching Ross Coulthart and talking to Liz is here. So and now we're going out to eat. And now there's a place called Gigi, which is an Italian joint. And everyone's sort of going to be there, and I think that's someone texting me about what's happening. And we're going to meet there. Thing is, one table's booked for 8:30, the other's booked for 9. So we're not going to be eating exactly the same time, but we're going to have a dinner. That's the main thing. It appears that Sam Osmanagic finished a bit earlier than I thought. So I'm not exactly sure what went in there. I mean, it got a bit to the point where I wasn't going to go back in there again, so I don't know exactly what happened. So anyway, let's meet with the gang. We're heading there now. The good thing about Glastonbury is that if you want to get somewhere in Glastonbury, everything is about 5 minutes walk from everything else. Because it's not just like a time-space continuum portal anomaly. It's a small place. It is, yeah. It is. But it's also something very small, so that's good. So there's the high street, see? I'm nearly there already. Hello! I am in Gigi's with Miles, and he's got a brilliant t-shirt. That's what I do. I drink beer and know things. That's true, isn't it?
Ben,
is that true?
Ben, just go away. I drink beer. I know things. You don't need anything to know.
And I'm also here with
what he's not saying is that the more he drinks, the more he knows.
That's true. That's true. He's got wine and beer. He's mixing them, mate. You're mixing them. That's a very Irish thing to do.
Very reserved.
Yeah. All right, Colin.
The truth is that the more he drinks, the more he knows.
Yeah. We're at Gigi's restaurant, Glastonbury. We're in Gigi's restaurant, and there's this wonderful little Italian job here in Glastonbury. Yes. And you're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. Yeah. Guys, we just left the Gigi, so we're heading along. This is Glastonbury at night. What time is it? It's about 11, I think. And Gemma's done her Gemma. She's done her talk. And Kolbahar. And we're off. Night night, Gemma. Night night. See ya. We're heading off now. We're going back. And there's always music everywhere you go in Glastonbury. There's always music. Even at this late hour. The Crown. That's where we're having our dinner tomorrow. Yeah, they've got a band over there, see?
Stereophonics going on.
Yeah. This is fantastic. Colin, have you had a good day?
Yeah, I have had a good day.
All right. Well, I've got to pick your brains because I didn't see it. What was Souvenirs Managadish? What was his talk like?
Well, you have to remember, I didn't actually know that it was a technical problem, so I went back with Liz. So I didn't actually see what was going on because I came back
What time did he start? 5 o'clock?
Oh, it started about half an hour late.
Well, yeah, so I came back, so I think I actually thought it'd already been an hour into it, so I thought I was just catching the end of it, so I only caught like 10 minutes of it, maybe 20 minutes, and I thought, well, this is a bit weird, it's going on a bit long, but I didn't know what happened before, so then basically I got home, and then I went across, when there was a break, because then he did like a 20-minute break, and then he did a second part, but he obviously had to curtail it because of some technical issues, so, and then I ended up having a drink, so I didn't actually see hardly any of the second part other than the last 10 minutes, so to be fair, I didn't see him, but then I have seen him before, so it doesn't really.
So what do you think about this Bosnian pyramid? Do you think it's...
Yeah, I mean, there's something to it. I mean, the one side I did see was like a lot of the other people being quite disparaging of it, like Robert Schoch, Graham Hancock, actually, having...
You think there'd be more... I don't know, I mean, Robert Schoch is an honest guy. I think he's an honest guy. Doesn't mean he's right, doesn't mean he's correct, but I think he's intellectually honest.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting... It's an interesting thing, a building, whatever, I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah, very. I think it's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing. I mean, you see, like, it's true that Robert Schoch said he was invited to give his opinion, which he gave, and then people didn't like it, so he had to flee the country. He had to flee to the country for his life because of all the death threats and things like that. But it doesn't mean he's right, it doesn't mean he's correct. But if you go to someone and you ask them for their opinion, and they give it to you and you don't like it, well, that's your problem. But anyway, Samir Osmanagic is convinced that this is like an ancient monument from some antediluvian civilization. If it's true, then it's twice the size of today's Great Pyramid. It's twice the size of the Great Pyramid. He says it's even older than them. Could well be. It's a really, really interesting thing though. And I'd like to have seen it, but other things got in the way. But I had a good time despite that. I put the world of rights with Liz, did a bit of voice to camera sort of thing. Here we are down this way, and then went for a lovely meal with my friends Colin and all my other friends as well. So in a lovely Italian restaurant called Gigi. So I've got nothing to complain about at all. So we're now going to head home. And look, as I said. Oxford is a 15-minute city, but Glastonbury is a 5-minute city. So it's not that it's more New World Order than Oxford, because that's not possible. Nowhere is. But it is still... Everything is within 5 minutes of everything else. So it's a 5-minute city in a good way. You know what I mean? So anyway, we're heading home, heading back to the garden shed right now. I swam easy. Easy like Sunday morning. Yes, it is actually Sunday morning here in Glastonbury. I'm curious to see what the place looks like on a Sunday. Probably a lot of things will be shut. Just like the pubs shut quite early here, I've noticed. It's good old-fashioned, like, 1980s hours, 11 p.m. drink. Call time, 11 p.m, that's it, you're out, that sort of thing. And we're now heading for... heading down to the venue. And I've forgotten my bag with my notebook in. But Colin's on first. Col, he's the first speaker. He's going to be doing his Star Wars talk, which I've heard before, but he'll probably add some more stuff to it. It's kind of I've been watching the internet. Luckily we've got good Wi-Fi in there actually. Ross Coulthard has been on Channel 7 News. He's done a half-hour show on Channel 7 News, which is like a big mainstream TV Australian news channel. That's actually quite remarkable. Talking about David Grush, doing the usual stuff about David Grush on the hearing. I'm itching to get something on uploaded myself or posted or live streamed myself about this subject. Anyway, as you can see, it's raining. The fact that it's raining is a little bit... Well, it means the pavement screevings will sort of like be obliterated. But morning. But that's inevitable. They're not designed to last anyway. So I'm just going to go in and get my bag and I'll go out again. It's quiet. It's really quiet. And of course, here in the West Country, you know, Sunday still means something. And I haven't shown you the shops on this side of the road. Of course, they're not going to be open, I think, today. The atmosphere here, though, is amazing. The voices are echoing off the houses because it's so quiet. I haven't even seen a car go past yet. And of course, the screevings are going to wash away now, but they're still there now, but they will wash away. Which is sad, but, you know, it's kind of... This is rather like what the late great Michael Glickman used to say about crop circles. You know, they are essentially, they're deliberately put into a medium which doesn't last. So in a sense, they don't become kind of sacred cows. Sorry, a bit of rain on the lens. So the crop circles are things of beauty. They're things of beauty and wonder, but also things of transience. Impermanence. It's like in the Buddhist temples in places like Nepal, they'll often make these beautiful, they make these sand mandalas, they make these beautiful images, incredibly complex, colourful images out of sand, out of different coloured sand, the monks, and they spend several months producing an extraordinary portrait or image of some kind, and it's amazing. I mean, sometimes they are photographed, thank goodness, but at the end of this, what do? They stand around, they admire it for a little while, and they get a broom and a dustpan and they sweep it away. That's impermanence, that's transience. And crop circles are the same, and I suppose you could say the same for these screevings. And of course, it's like the non-conformist folk art and the graffiti videos I make. I make them for that reason. To preserve what cannot be preserved. So I don't want to see, I suppose I don't want to see that happen. And of course with photography, you can preserve things like crop circles. In a sense. That's what's nice. I suppose all of the world is like that. See, it's still there now, but of course, if this rain is eventually going to wash it away. In a sense, I'll be the same. I'm the same. Right now, I'm a living, breathing person who speaks to you. A lot of you, I know, like me and respect me and follow what I do. 100 years from now, I'm going to be worm food. 1,000 years from now, this town probably won't even be standing. Or if it is, the buildings will have all been replaced. 1,000,000 years from now, the Earth... Will humans even exist in our current form? You see what I mean? There's something fundamentally philosophical about that, and about the nature of the world. And here we are. This is Sunday morning here at the Glastonbury Symposium. Look, I'm in the auditorium now, and you would never guess who's turned up. Professor Chris French. No. Oh no, it's not him. It's not him, actually. It looks a bit like him. It's still quite early yet, so we've still got time to do things. Now I just want to show you a bit more about this wall hanging here, because it actually has some this Egyptian theme thing, right? It actually has some crop circle images on it. You see here, look, it has an Egyptian theme, and that's a Buddhist temple there, I think. But look at these. It has crop circle images built around it. Now I know amazing, yeah. This skeptic friend of mine I told you about from Facebook, he's always saying, why is it when you have a UFO conference, suddenly it's filled with all kinds of things to do with ancient Egypt? It's because, like, ancient Egypt is a source of mysticism and wonder, I suppose, and along with the UFO phenomenon. And that's kind of like... I don't think there's anything wrong with that, personally. I think that's A-okay, I think. So, these are absolutely beautiful, these, aren't they? Absolutely lovely. There's a wonderful atmosphere early on the second day of the conference. In this case, it's the third day. Before everyone else has got in, it's the hangover slot, and it's all calm. Everything's been quiet and calm since I got up this morning. It's really nice. Colin has just finished his talk. There he is, signing autographs from his adoring fans. He did us proud, did old Dr. Colon Woollyford, I must say. I'm going to pop outside now. We've got a little break. Tony's here. Yep. And what I'll do is, we'll have a cup of something, and then we will.
Camera in your hand.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Capture the moment.
All right. I'm having my photo taken by Tony. He's photographing me with my camera in the. There we are. You photo me, I'll photo you.
Your eyes are closed.
Is it? All right. Okay. Do it again.
Do it again.
There we are. Okay, mate. Well, there we are, guys. There we are. Yeah, I'm going to go outside and I'll talk a bit more about Colin's talk. Hey, Dad. How you doing, Dally? You were in, seeing as you were in my original Ben Goes On Tour video, do you want to be in this one?
What do you do this time?
It's called Ben Goes On Tour 2. I couldn't think of a better title than that. This is Dally. And Dally you'll remember because he was in the first movie 13 years ago. It's good to see you again, mate. Yeah. Are you enjoying yourself?
Oh, it's been good, yeah. It's been good.
That was all interesting stuff, I think. Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yes, indeed.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I hope you enjoy the rest of this weekend, what's left of it.
I'm hoping to, yes. The weather's not with us, but...
It's got the raining now, yeah, but there we go. So, glad you're here. All the best. Dr. Colon Woollyford came on very smartly dressed. And I'll just go around here a minute because everyone else is like queuing up for the tea. By the way, I must really pay tribute to the catering team here at this particular conference because they can literally serve there's about 300 people here. Hey, all right. They got what? Oh, right. They got lots of copies of Nexus in there, which of course they would do in Glastonbury. I must pay tribute to the catering team here at this particular conference because somehow they can serve up like 300. There's probably at least 300 people here. They can serve up like 300 cups of tea and coffee in 20 minutes. It's really quite an achievement. That's done locally made books and maps, and it seems to be open. I might go in there later. Anyway, he talked about Star Wars. Now, Star Wars Day is May the 4th because of the May the 4th thing, but the real Star Wars Day is actually May the 25th because that's when it was released, May 25th, 1977. And you see, Colin, like many people, see Star Wars as a kind of, rather like Tolkien's work, it's kind of neo-mythology. It's not just fiction, it's like legendary, it's archetypal. And it's also not science fiction, it's more of a space opera, and it has many similarities actually to the sword and sorcery fantasies. And it has lots of connections to ancient mythology, especially Egyptian. So just checking my notes there, you can check them for me. There's the Jedi, who are kind of like mystical order, and then there's Jedi Knights, use the Force, this power, this sort of like supernatural power, or spiritual power. There's all kinds of things such as the hero's journey archetype is present in Star Wars, just like it is in Frank Herbert's Dune. Lucas actually read Herbert's Dune, and probably we think that's what inspired him very much for Star Wars. The hero's journey of Luke Skywalker, of course, is he's an orphan who finds out later that he is the son of the Sith master Darth Vader. Now, for anyone who speaks Dutch will know that there's an immediate clue in there. In fact, having a Dutch mother, this was obvious to me from the moment the character was introduced in the first film. Vader, spelt Vader, means father. Lovely photos here of the orb and the chalice well. And Colin finds it interesting, that Skywalker, that's a really interesting name, Skywalker, someone who walks in the sky. It implies almost like he's got special powers. Funnily enough, the word fast walker, we found out recently, is actually code in the US military for a UFO. It's another sort of nickname for a UFO. In Empire Strikes Back, which is often considered the best of the original trilogy. It's it's unusual for a middle of a trilogy to be considered the best. It's much darker in theme. It ends very ambiguously, open-ended. It's open beginning, open ending. You of course have Darth Vader confessing that he's Luke's father, just after cutting off his hand. A lovely paternal act, that. And yeah, it's what was it? Yeah. There's also the scene with Yoda. I'll come on to that in a minute. But according to someone called Sheldon Neidl, someone I don't know very much about, he said in 1994 the Anunnaki, that's the reptilians, turned against the Dark. They turned away from the Illuminati. I don't know if that's true. But it could be that there's some ancient folk memory in Star Wars, because the tagline for this whole franchise is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Is that what actually happened? Are humans essentially part of some kind of galactic migration? Have we turned up on this planet and forgotten our origins? And of course, Anakin is Darth Vader's real name is Anakin, and it sounds a bit like Anunnaki. Luke represents humanity, who comes back to take his rightful place in the universe. There's also several other clues in names. Leia sounds like the Princess Leia, Leia, Pleiades. Han Solo, Solo could mean Solomon. Solo also means alone, a loner. The story of Han Solo is similar to Jesus. He's encased in carbonite. He's tortured by the Empire, like Jesus. He is encased in carbonite, then resurrected. There's also a Judas-like figure in the form of Lando Calrissian, of course, who betrays Jesus, that is Han Solo. Later, of course, he regrets this and he redeems himself. So, in a sense, there's this story of redemption. And several people, in some Gnostic sects, Judas is actually considered. Judas Iscariot is actually not worshipped, but he's kind of like not considered as evil as. He's not considered evil in the same way. Sorry, that most other people do. So I'm going to have to go back in. The breaks aren't very long between speakers, and I don't want to end up in. There's something called the ET papers. Let's go back in here. There's also strange creatures like the fish-like creatures. Admiral Akbar is the Mon Calamari. The word Mon keeps coming up again and again. The supreme leader of the Rebel Alliance is called Mon Mothma. Mon, the M sound is very maternal. This goes back to the legend of the divine feminine, and that appears in various forms, such as the Virgin Mary, who is worshipped as a deity by the Roman Catholics. The daughter of Ma, Doma, comes from this idea, which may translate into the modern world in people like Isis, Enki, Semiramis, Mary. Stella Maris, Star of the Sea, is one of the names of the Virgin Mary. This idea that ancient humans, there was an ancient matriarchal human civilization. There's actually a book called When Women Ruled the World, and as an anti-feminist, that sounds bloody awful. It'd be awful for both men and women. But maybe I had an incarnation there, which is why I've rebelled against feminism. Of course, there are fish-like creatures in UFO lore. I mean, the Dogon, the Dogon, who are an African tribe who had contact with ET. They described them as being fish-like, and their spaceships were filled with water. There's several figures relating to the Mahdi of Islam, Admiral Akbar. I mean, of course, the phrase Allahu Akbar of Islam is what Muslims say when they pray, God is the greatest. Admiral Akbar is one of the Mon Calamari, these fish-like creatures. A calamari is a type of squid-like thing, isn't it? In Italy, I don't know if that's the name of the edible squid that you serve in Italy. General Madine, it could be related to Mahdi. And at the end of the entire real franchise, I mean, I don't include all the spin-offs and the ridiculous new trilogy, but Darth Vader, Anakin, the Anunnaki, is redeemed. He served evil, but then he destroys evil and saves his son, which is humanity, Luke Skywalker. The hero's journey, kind of thing. It's a very So that's why this could be why Star Wars has such popularity. It is because it is so archetypal. It is also it's an apocalypse as well. The defeat of evil leads to the defeat of the Empire and the victory of the Rebel Alliance, the restoration of the Galactic Republic, which is of course very apocalyptic. Because I bring this up in my own talk on the apocalypse. There's several other references here. I mean, Yoda, of course, is this shamanic figure, this master of wisdom, I wonder if George Lucas was inspired by the books of Carlos Castaneda, because I know I only read these long after I saw the film, but Carlos Castaneda wrote a series of these books, starting with the teachings of Don Juan, about a man who undergoes Amerindian shamanic training at the hands of someone called Don Juan Matus, and several others. There's Don Gennaro, who's this acrobat-like figure who can balance on things the way. And the scene in Empire Strikes Back where Yoda was teaching Luke the way of the Force is very much like that. It's worth reading those books. They're very like that scene in Empire Strikes Back. Qui-Gon Jinn, who was, of course, Liam Neeson's character, the Jedi Master who trains Anakin. Qigong is actually a word for the Chinese force of life. Even Jar Jar Binks, this rather, I think, superfluous and rather obtrusive comedy character who was in the original prequels. He represents the Syrians of Sirius. Jar Jar, of course, goes on to become a galactic senator, which is that doesn't bear thinking about, does it? It's interesting, and of course the new trilogy. Colin only just briefly touches on that. I don't like the new trilogy. I don't even consider that canon as far as I'm concerned. It's so bloody awful. Anyway, guys, we're back with. There's going to be Emma Farrell next, talking about plant healing. So looking forward to that. Okay, back here in the auditorium now. So we're just waiting for Emma Farrell to come on. Never heard of this person, but more people have arrived. I think it's getting busier. Well, Glastonbury High Street, as you can see, on a Sunday is actually quite busy. Most of these things are open. Hadn't expected that, but there you are. I've just started raining. I left my jersey back at the venue. It's oh dear. Well, anyway, I've decided to come out and get a bit of me time. I'm going to feel a bit fed up, actually. There seems to be a bit of tension in the air caused by the payment arrangements. Of our location, our self-catering accommodation, and it's caused one of our number to get to speak to me in a way I felt uncomfortable with, saying, well, basically, I mean, I don't think this person may have meant to have been rude, but they were. I mean, well, I felt they were. That could be my problem. I just said, is everything okay? And I heard some problems. He says, it doesn't concern you, Ben. Which I thought was a bit demeaning. So, that sort of made me feel a bit bad. So I was watching Emma Farrell. She started talking about plants and devas and the Celtic tradition of plant healing and things like that. And that's all very new age. I'm not against that sort of thing, and I do take an interest in it. But I decided I didn't want to stay and see it that much. I thought I need to get some me time, so I'm going to go back to our digs. I bought some groceries, so that's what I'm going to do now. I'll feel all right in a little while, and probably this person will be probably in a better mood later. Some people okay. I think some people have a rather demeaning attitude towards me. They sort of like me to be around when they want me around and to talk about the things that they want to talk about. And as long as I do that, I'm bearable. But if I sort of like ask questions I shouldn't ask, it's no, you go back to being good little shut up, Ben. Don't like people who do things like that. So I now need to be alone for a bit, I think. And I'll catch up with these people later. I'm back home now, and I'm feeling a bit calmer now. I think there are some people, you know, I could say I like their company, and this person is one of them. However, I don't think I could live with her or spend a long time with her. And probably the time we're here is probably like the bare limit, because I mean, I don't think she doesn't intend any malevolence. I don't think she probably, I don't know what she intended when she said, "Oh, it doesn't concern you, Ben." I don't know what her intentions were. I'd like to give her the benefit of the doubt and think she wasn't actually attacking me or something like that, because I just asked a perfectly reasonable question. If someone, you know, the way to reply would be to say, "Oh, everything's fine, Ben, it's okay. It's just something between me and someone else. Hope you understand." That's the right way to reply. That's how I would reply. It's a respectful way to reply in that situation. I mean, she's a strange character, this person. I'm not going to name her, but she's one of my camp companions on this trip. You know, she's very intense. You know, she talks very intently, very eloquently. She's extrovert, very, very good in she's very, very skilled in conversation. However, like if you're with a group of people, she'll only talk to one person, and she'll talk to that person, you know, avidly, almost like with a laser focus. You know, she can talk, and they can have a conversation between themselves for half an hour, which is like, in which within 10 minutes she'll have told you her life story. Within 20 minutes she'll have told you her friend's life story. Within 25 minutes you're basically sharing a cabin on a cruise to Egypt the following month. But during that period, everybody else in the room is invisible to her. Invisible. Don't even try getting a word in edgeways. She won't look at you. And I find that irksome. This is why it's someone I probably couldn't get on with on a long-term basis, even though I can on a short-term basis. And I don't think it's because of any malevolence, it's because of our personalities. You know, I want to be treated a certain way, she won't treat me that way, that kind of thing. So, you know, I mean, I'm not just for people who think I'm just like the water that fits into any container, I'm not. You know, I'm a spiky, solid object. Okay, so don't underestimate me, okay? I'm warning you. I must say I'm also a bit stressed out because I dropped my camera. Luckily I dropped it onto the parquet floor of the town hall, not from a very great height, so it doesn't appear to be damaged. Well, obviously it's still working, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. So that's good. I really don't want to break it. It cost me 180 quid and I've only had it a few weeks, so I'm hoping I can get plenty of work out of it like I did the previous camera, which was the same model. Oh, it's still raining a bit, and I'm heading out now to the Crown. Now, apparently we're meeting at 1 PM in the Crown. I did text someone, they haven't texted me back, but one of my companions came home and told me we're meeting at 1 PM in the Crown. So we're having like a roast dinner, which is nice. It is Sunday and we've booked a roast dinner, which is lovely. Okay, so it's going to cross over now. The road seems to be getting busier.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Oh, good. It's I found Marcus Allen, he's arrived, so it's great to see you again, Marcus.
Thank you, Ben. Great to be here. Glastonbury Symposium, where everybody should be to get the good information about the world. And Nexus.
Of course, and Nexus, of course. You'll recognise Marcus from the Apollo Detectives videos.
Yes.
And we do meet every so often, usually at events like this, so...
I think it's time we did another Apollo Detectives, don't we?
Definitely, yes. I think Neil has one planned. He's definitely got one planned, so yeah, brilliant. Well, I'm going to have dinner and I'll see you in a little while.
Indeed.
Yeah, take care. It's good to see you again.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Well, guys, I missed Ian Jarvis talking about 5G, and we've had a big long dinner with Liz. Hey, Liz. With Liz and a couple of our other friends, and I've been feeling, like I said, I've been feeling because of I think it's partly an energetic problem, but also because of what happened this morning with the person being snappy and rude with me. I've just felt very heavy, but I've just done an exercise which a friend of mine Linda just taught me. Do you want to be on the Panmo TV?
Yeah, no.
Okay, this is Linda, and she just taught me something amazing exercise.
Yeah, go back to the breath.
Yeah, to remove heaviness from myself, and it really worked, Linda. So thank you very much.
That's all
Where did you
right.
learn to do that?
I don't know.
I don't know. It just came to you, did it?
But yeah, I've done quite a lot of stuff over the years, and it always comes back to the breath for me.
Yeah, oh, right.
Everything.
Oh, good.
Because it's the only thing we can't live without.
Exactly, we've got to breathe, haven't we? Well, thank you for teaching me
That's
that.
all right.
Because it's
That's
removed
all
the
right.
heaviness that was in my chest. It's all gone now. It's just great.
Well, you did it.
Yeah, oh, thanks. Yeah, I did. But we're going to go over and see the next speaker in a minute.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'll see you over there.
Okay,
Thanks
Ben.
very much.
That's okay.
See you. Bye-bye. So, yeah, we're going to head over. They're just having a look in that shop. But they're actually starting in about 5 minutes, so we need to get over there. We need to pop into the bog and then take a quick look. I feel a bit lighter now because I was feeling heavy. But I think it's going to be it's making me feel it'll be nice to go home. I've got so much to do when I get home and I'm itching to get started. I'm going to be on Terry Joyce's show tomorrow night at 8. I've got to do Third Row Radio with Trevor talking about the hearing. I'm going to be hearing down my brain probably by the end of the week. I've got to interview Steve Bassett Tuesday evening. Yeah, lots to do. Oh, anyway, the rain has stopped, which is nice. So it's crossover, it's very busy. But it's not as busy as it normally is. Sunday's not so bad, but the road that bisects Glastonbury with hardly any kind of like hearings, hardly any crossings. The hearings on the brain, haven't I? So here we go. The final speaker, Bert Outerhagen, is going to be very interesting. His name, Bart Outerhagen. It sounds Belgian, and I wonder if he knows about the Belgian UFO flag. There seems to be a lot of Dutch people in Glastonbury, I've noticed, and you know, I mean, there seems to be like, and including a couple of people at this conference, like who are from the Netherlands, and I've met another guy who's half Dutch like me. I met another guy who's half Dutch like me because my mother was a Dutch woman, as you know, and I don't know if that is kind of like the way. It's something to do with being Dutch or the Netherlands and things like that. Now Bart Outerhagen, if he's Belgian and he's Flemish. I mean, the thing about Belgium is some people say, oh, it's two countries in one. You get Flanders and you have like Wallonia. One is like consists of the Flemish who are like Dutch-speaking Protestants, and then there's the Walloons who are French-speaking Roman Catholics. And I was suggested casually one day to this Belgian guy, why not just, take Wallonia and like attach it to France, take the Flanders and attach it to Netherlands, make it part of Netherlands, then do away with Belgium altogether. And he says, those pot-smoking, whoring degenerates in Amsterdam and Rotterdam are not my countrymen, because they are very socially conservative. I think that's what unites them in Belgium. So anyway, that's a little anecdote for you. I'm going to go to the toilet and go into the venue. So that's my next step. Okay, I've come out of the final session of the day. I mean, except the Richard Vogue's lecture later, I'm heading back. Thought I'd go away I haven't been before and go through this alleyway by the side of Barradour. I've been down the Glastonbury High Street maybe for the last time. It's an amazing place. I don't know if you've seen that comedy sketch show, it's like, I think it's not about Glastonbury, but it kind of sums up Glastonbury, really does. That's nice over there, look. Maybe make the place look nice. It says TV presenters. Yes, we wanted to gauge what the public reaction would be to this new government policy, so we decided to go onto the street and ask the average person what they thought. So we chose Glastonbury, and here we are on the street with our little clipboard to do our survey. The problem is we're still waiting for an average person to walk past. It's like, nice. Bart Outerhausen. Thought I'd go this way. Oh yes, you come up by the library. It's like a little shortcut, which I've only just discovered. This is the library. I'm feeling tired. I mean, it's not unlike the time I did the séance at Glastonbury. I'm feeling utterly exhausted. I hardly ever do. Because all I've been doing all day, sitting on my arse and eating. But But Oterhauser, whatever he's called, he was from Belgium, as I expected, and he talked about the Belgian UFO flap. He's talked about a lot of other things. I'm got to be honest, I didn't make many notes because I sort of was dozing through his lecture, because I was feeling so tired. So he didn't actually. I don't remember him saying anything particularly original. He brought up to Philip Corso and The Day After Roswell, which, as you know, I have a very low opinion of that book. I've read it, and I thought it was a fantasy, essentially. None of it made any sense. A lot of it directly contradicted the facts I know about the Roswell incident. I know I wrote a fictionalized account of the Roswell incident, but I tried to make mine consistent with the facts of history. He also said he said something good about Nick Pope. So, well, this is Nick Pope, and he's a really great world-leading authority. And I'm a bit shocked to say I was the only one who groaned and rolled my eyes. I didn't hear anyone else doing it. But I mean, I don't want to judge the guy too much because I missed so much of his talk. Colin's gone to the pub with the others. I'm really tired, and I'm heading back to the shed. Maybe I may not leave again till tomorrow morning when we go home. I'm not sure. I mean, we could go out for dinner. I've had a big meal already. Maybe go out for some food. But you know what? I don't feel very hungry. I feel very unhungry. I mean, it's not just because I've had a big meal. I've got that feeling that I'm not going to be hungry again till tomorrow. So we've got some wine to drink. We've got wine. Of course, I'll leave some for Gemma because she likes it too. But I'll have a few glasses of that. We've got some rum, a little bit of rum left, which I'll leave some of that for Colin because that's what he likes. And we got tea and coffee. We got Wi-Fi. I can watch UFO programs, things like that. And you know, I just want. Of course, now I've taken my lanyard off because I had to hand it into the reception. When you leave, you hand your lanyard in, and they reuse it. I've been in future conferences. I've still got my ticket for Richard Vobes. I took it out because you know it's stuck in the back of the lanyard. I still have my ticket for Richard Vobes, so I have the option. I haven't thrown it away. I have the option of attending later if I feel up to it. But you know, I don't think I will. I'm just. I've had enough. I've said this on Friday, but you know, I'm really looking forward to getting home. As much as I'm fond of this place, and that I'll have the inevitable come down when I leave, it's going to be so nice to get home. It really will. That's because I've got so much to do. I know why. It's because one of the reasons I really want to get home is because I've got a lot to do and I'm itching to get going. I really, really want to get going with it. So that's my next step. I think I'm just heading over here. I'll be back to the shed. It's interesting to think. Someone said, "Where are you staying?" I was saying, "We're staying at some garden shed," which is true. It's a very nice shed. There's no sort of like muddy Wellingtons or gardening tools hung from hooks. You know, it's got beds and shower and a fridge. You know, so even though it's a shed, it's a very nice shed. So, and you know what? I would, if you walk, it's actually really cheap. Because I mean there are up to 6 beds in there. You can have up to 6 people. We've got 5. If you have like enough people, you can fill all the beds, or even most of them. And the same goes for Erie Cushlin on the Isle of Man. If you can get enough people, it's a very good value stay. I mean, it costs quite a lot to hire this shed, but if you're going on your own, forget it. It's about £1,200. Forget it for 4 nights. But if you're going with a group of people, I mean, I was 100. The kind of like the equivalent of bailiffs they have in Glastonbury, who are kind of like these sort of long-haired South hippies. Yeah, even Glastonbury, even the bailiffs like wear sort of hippie clothes, and they say peace out and things like that. I paid this bailiff, this Glastonbury bailiff, 100. Well, by what it costs to keep me here, it was £144. £144 for 4 nights. It's very good value. It's only that cheap because I'm sharing it with 4 other people. Anyway, here's the house. I don't know if I show you. You go how do you access the shed just through this alleyway here? You just go through here, and you get to through this rather overgrown alleyway. It's very nice. I don't mind things being a bit overgrown in Glasgow. And here's the shed. It's got solar panels on the roof as well. And look at the other people, there's other people staying here and they have something a lot posher than us. But that's alright, isn't it? Here we are. Well, good evening everyone. I'm back at the cabin. I've actually been here now, it's for all afternoon, or since the end of the show. I'm like, I've decided not to go to Richard Vobe's. I don't feel very well right now. I just feel very, very drained of energy. I don't normally get like this, but I am right now. The others have gone. Well, Liz is still here. She's just having a lie down. But anyway, I have the next best thing, and in fact, I'm slightly disappointed I'm not really up to going because in the Q&A I could say some interesting things. Because, for example, Richard Vobes has actually put up a video about aliens, and everyone is talking about aliens and UFOs. It appears that I missed quite a number of talks, and even the ones I missed, the subject of aliens came up quite a lot, probably because of last Friday's hearings. But anyway, here is the Bald Explorer, and I'll just show you this little. I'm just going to show you this video he's done here. So I'll do the old Steve mumbling way, camera pointing at the screen. So, and I'll stop it every so often to make some comments. It's only a short one. This won't take very long.
See, they're still pushing the old alien invasion thing. I thought we'd.
Well, they're not pushing it yet, Richard, because they just all we've just had is a hearing, which, as I say, is very extraordinary. I'm going to say more about that later, but it's not actually mentioning alien invasion yet. But it might.
Spelled all of that. I thought that was one of those things, you know, that the cabal, the one world government, the psychopaths had dismissed as actually one of their tools in their toolbox.
No, they haven't dismissed it at all. I think it is still very much on the cards.
That had failed, that had broken. But no, they're determined. They're going to tell us that there is an alien invasion and it's still going on, and at some point...
Well, not yet, but... I think they might at some point, yeah. But at some point, what?
No doubt Project Bluebeam will happen, and we'll see all this wonderful technology, which is nice to know the technology exists, that they can project the alien spaceships in the sky and give the illusion that they're flying over us. And the sad part is that in order to do this, they'll probably shoot down a few planes, which...
false flags, yeah. It'll be like 9/11.
Will be murder, of course.
Yes.
And make a few explosions on the ground. And
if, as I said, this is a possibility. What he's saying is a distinct possibility.
The normal people who have yet to wake up may well go, oh my goodness, this is happening. And they're feeding stories into the press and everywhere, leaking out this story over time, so that when this event actually happens and we all get to see the movie in real life, we're supposed to actually believe it's true. Well, one of the ways that they do this is by feeding out these stories on various YouTube channels. And I have to say, I was quite amused to see a story appear on Redacted. Now,
I like Redacted. Yeah, Redacted is a good channel if you've not seen it.
Redacted is, as you may know, you may be viewers of it, is a serious news channel by ex-anchor from the news, and he's set up, I think his name's Clayton, and he's with his lovely wife, and they've set up and they do their news stories, and they're very reliable mostly. But up came this particular story about an alien being interviewed, and they were taking it very...
Yeah, you may have guessed where I'm going with this. I'll show you exactly what he's talking about in a minute.
Very seriously. They had this guy who was talking about it so enthusiastically that it was almost, with so much information, it was almost as if he'd been briefed so well that he was desperate to give every last little bit of the briefing out. It seemed as if it was just, well, to me it looked like he was clearly making it all up or lying, and it was.
All right, the person, this is the interview he's talking about. It's this one. Here we are. Exposing, this is redacted. He's exposing the secret alien interrogation program. Redacted with Clayton Morris. Here we go.
You are about to see is jaw-dropping.
Now
it was
this
passed over by the New York Times. The New York Times.
This is the person he's talking about. That's the person he's talking about, who's supposedly locked.
These are those rhombohedron crystals
in
in your pineal gland. When those crystals become electrically active.
Let's get that right. Okay, this is the person he's talking about.
Self and Clayton, you're a journalist.
Now, you may recognise him. You've seen him before. He's been on one of my videos. It's John Stewart. John Stewart, and I won't put a link in the description box or anything like that. But it's only a couple of months ago I did an interview with him and put it on my channel, so you can check it out. Now, what he's talking about, of course, is the alien interview. Here we go.
An investigative reporter too. I'm thinking.
Again,
wait.
you've seen this on my channel. See, that's oops.
Debilitation or disease with its heart-lung sac. It does not have a
Okay,
traditional.
you can see the whole thing. I played the whole thing on my channel. Okay, so it's a very, very interesting case indeed. So let's see what Richard has to say about it.
And he was desperately just trying to say it all in this sort of.
Okay, I think Richard's being unfair here. I don't think he knows much about John Stewart. He seems to say he's reading a script or lying or something like that, or being briefed. I don't think so. For several reasons. I mean, I go into this in detail with John in the interview, but let's let Richard carry on.
Enthusiastic way, which belied the fact, really, if there was an alien who was being interviewed, I think he would be a little bit, his approach would have been different. But anyway.
Oh, would it? In what way?
That's a side story to the actual footage that they showed. And so there was this footage of this alien that seemed to have supposedly been hurt, being interrogated by the military in Area 51, or 5-1 as they apparently...
It's S4, which is near Area 51, yeah.
You call it, if you're in the know. It doesn't really matter to me, I'm not in the know. But there I could see this alien in this dark room with this tiny pool of light on him, and they said, oh yes, we have to keep it dark for, to protect the alien's eyes, which
Correct.
are big eyes after all, unblinking.
Correct. The large eyes of the greys, including that specimen, does indicate they come from a habitat with very low light compared to the Earth, possibly a planet orbiting a sun much further away or a much smaller sun.
Eyes. The same sort of eyes that you see in perhaps a film like The First Men on the Moon in 1960 with Lionel Jeffries, sort of Ray Harryhausen type animation, those sort of things. He looked very much like that, and whilst the alien...
They did in a way, but you see, people often think, well, the aliens are essentially a mythology influenced by science fiction. The late Robbie Graham proved otherwise, because he actually contacted a science fiction production designer, whom, what's his name, one of the skeptics had accused of basically starting the whole grey alien phenomenon. But Robbie actually indicated this guy had actually told him that he had he himself had been influenced by talking to real alien abductees. So the cart was put before the horse there, as Robbie proved.
Moved in a very peculiar way, in a very unrealistic way.
Okay, how many aliens have you seen, Richard? How, in your view, do aliens move? What's realistic in terms of how would an alien actually move? Because, I've never seen a moving alien myself, so I don't know. Maybe you do.
In a very unnatural way, in a very pretend way. It could clearly a puppet.
It's not a puppet. I've explained why it's not a puppet. Anyway, carry on.
I mean, it was so clearly a puppet, and people always say,
Why is this? Why do you think it's so clearly a puppet?
but how do we know? How do we know? Well, apparently one puppeteer, I gather, has already said that this is a complete fake, that you can tell by the movement that it's not real.
Well, in the documentary, it seems that the special effects teams were, the special effects experts that were consulted were divided over the issue. As John has explained, as Victor Nevada has explained, and many other people, Sean David Morton, etc. There's a lot of there's a lot of reason to think this is not a puppet. Now, I go into detail in the video, but basically you've got to ask yourself, well, who made it? Where are they? Why have they not spoken out? Why wouldn't they want this on their CV? Where's the workshop? Where's the financier? Where's the workshop? The sculptors, the financiers, the actors, the directors, basically everything that happened with the alien, everything to do with the alien autopsy. All right, which Colin's not here, so he's not here to dispute me. Everything that's about the alien autopsy is absent. It's present in that, is absent in the alien interview. This very sophisticated puppet, like I said, which must have been made by someone who's very skilled, probably someone with a career in Hollywood, it's part of a community, which is it's a tight-knit community, which has only a handful of members. Not many people specialise in animatronic puppet making for the cinema. It's never been let slip at a pool party. No one knows who these people are. He has a cast of at least 5 people. Where are they? It's crazy.
It's not genuine. It is how a puppet would move.
The puppet would move in several different ways. Some puppets are glove puppets. In other words, there'd be a hole at the back of the creature's head, and an operator would insert their hand and move the mouth with their thumb, and the other parts of the face with other fingers. Or it would be a marionette. It would have strings, little very thin strings, holding up different parts of it, and the operator would be above with some levers pulling the strings. Both of those are discounted for reasons I explained in the video. So, if it's a puppet, how does it move?
She's in this sort of very odd little fashion of tiny sort of little movements. But anyway, more than that, you can tell it's a fake. I mean, just look at it. I mean, your gut reaction is that's not real. But also,
that wasn't my gut reaction, Richard. But it's your gut is smaller than mine, so I think I win on that one.
Here you are in Area 51 with an alien from another domain, wherever, a planet or whatever, he's crash landed, and you've got him, and you want to record an interview. And so what do? You just have one camera that can barely see him, that's very grainy. Wouldn't you have had several cameras from all different angles? Certainly one with that night vision that you get, you know, that sort of green stuff that they do. You've seen it on Most Haunted, probably. Any time you see it.
Yes, and I would do that, and it's quite likely that the people who were involved in that interview did do that. However, it's also very likely that, as with many films, as with most films, the different cameras will record onto different media. So there'd be a videotape for one camera, a videotape for another, and a videotape for another. So you'd have like about 4 or 5 different rushes, which would then be edited together. Now, it is the original unedited video, just one of them, that the Victor character managed to say character, the Victor individual, whoever that is, managed to sneak out of Area 51. Guess what? He didn't. He couldn't. Maybe he couldn't sneak out any of the others, and he couldn't sneak out the final edited product. Well, what do you expect? It's not like they produced a commercial DVD and he sort of slipped it up his bottom or something. Come on, Richard, get real.
See a haunted programme, you get those night cameras, don't you? They're all in green.
Yeah, that's true.
Gosh, there's a ghost. What was that? Oh, blimey, there's something round the corner. You'd certainly have that filming. You'd have another camera that would have the gain really open. It might be grainy in the light room, but you'd have the grain so you could see a lot more again.
Well, someone has actually enhanced the video we have, which has been published. It's funny, when you enhance it, you can quite clearly see the shape of the creature's body in the darkness, and you can also clearly see there's no operator crouching behind him holding his hands. You also know that when the medics come in, there's There are no marionette strings because the way the medics move, it's pretty clear they're not avoiding the strings, and the strings would be obstructed.
And you might have one camera that is filming, but you definitely have more than one. And so it just seemed completely implausible that this was true. But it was being represented as if this was a new find. And of course I looked at the comments, and blow me, of course, people were saying, oh yeah, I've seen this footage is around on the internet.
Yeah, it wasn't presented as a new find. It was first released in 1996, which is actually quite a long time ago, as you'll know. And it's just there's new information coming out. As you know, if you follow Andrew Burlington or you follow John's work, you follow the work that I've done on it, you'll know. I mean, I'm just a commentator, but those guys have been researching this, and new information has come out about it.
So I did a bit of a search, and I'll put the links in the description, because I found that somebody had posted the video 4 years ago, and so it's probably been...
No, it was posted 27 years ago.
The other thing is, if it was a genuine alien and they were trying to keep it secret, I have enough trouble just dancing around the terms and conditions on YouTube. Don't you think YouTube would have whipped it away? It wouldn't be allowed on, it would have been taken off, redacted would have been closed down. Don't you think that would have happened? This is...
It depends not if it's firstly, when it first emerged, there wasn't a YouTube. YouTube started, I think it was 2005. This actually emerged 9 years earlier. It was produced commercially, and by the time that happened, you see, once Rocket Pictures actually brought out the commercial video, to have shut it down at that point would have looked more suspicious than it did anyway. So they decided to play the other tactic, which is their more usual tactic. Yeah, let it go everywhere, and we just shrug our shoulders and say we don't care because it's a load of rubbish. See, that's the other tactic they use. That actually would be far more effective in that case.
Clearly part of a bigger picture, this false flag to get us to believe
what was that
there
noise?
is going to be an alien invasion. First,
no, there are things that what Richard talks about which are actually true, but this is not one of them. The video he's talking about on Redacted is not one of them.
First of all, you've got to get the normies, the people who are not quite awake, the normal people going about their lives, to actually believe yet another of these myths, like man-made global warming, you know, by drip, drip, drip. Little story here, little whistleblower there, little bit of something here. Oh yeah, no, there's aliens, they're all coming. Now, I'm not saying there are not aliens out there. I know that there are people who channel aliens. And in fact, we've been told by people who channel aliens that actually all of this is a load of old nonsense, because when it happens, we've been told it's not the real aliens. Well, you can believe that or not believe that, but
yeah.
Clearly
there's a lot of... I mean, I've got into debates with people at this very conference who are saying what Richard is saying, and I'm saying, no, that may not be the case. It's a possibility, but we have to keep other possibilities open for now.
I've seen so far, and it's not a huge amount because I don't take it terribly seriously, is that it's all a load of old rubbish. But I'd be interested in what you think.
Well, Richard, that's what I think, and it's a shame I won't be meeting you tonight. I could have gone, but you know, I wouldn't have enjoyed it, and I'd have... and I think I could have stuck my head... I'd be interested, if he's going to say something about this, he'll probably say what he said on this video anyway. And if I'm not there to challenge him, but I'm quite sure other people will. And what's more, I have my eyes and ears on the ground in terms of my friends who are going there. So I think this is what I've done tonight. Right now is just all that's necessary. All right, Richard. Well, hello, good morning, and welcome to our cabin, our hut, our shed. That's the view out of our window, which is actually really nice. Actually, it gives it a kind of Burmese jungle look, which is quite nice. It's Monday morning, the conference is over. Today we've got to go home, and it's going to be a come down, like I said, but I'm actually looking forward to it because I've got a hell of a lot to do when I get back. Okay, so let us begin with souvenirs. So I'm going to start by going through these red flyers I've picked up. Now this is the Bosnian Pyramid Summer Solstice celebration with Dr. Sam Osmanagic. and tours of the pyramid and things like that. There it is. You can look at that and make your own mind up whether you think it's real or not, but you can pause and read that. But that looks good. I won't be able to go to it, but it still looks good. This here is Adrian C. Smith. Oh right, Trevor will love this guy. That's that Canadian guy talking about the truckers. You know, brilliant stuff. This is a Glastonbury Symposium bookmark. It's great to have another bookmark because, you know, I'm a voracious reader. Ancient Egypt Ascension Retreat. Oh yes, that's in September. Neil Good. There's the Hertax. Alan Steinfeld, never heard of him, and Joan of Angels, again, never heard of her. But if you want to go to that, it looks quite good. There's a Nile cruise. Let's just hope no one gets murdered, Agatha Christie style. Ascension, Initiation, Sacred, Ancient Wisdom. Sounds good, doesn't it? Oh, this is Joan of Angels. Oracle of Ancient Wisdom, Spiritual Advisor. Angelic Activation, Mentor, Wing Fluffer? Wing Fluffer? I hope she explains exactly what that means. And there's all kinds of other things for angels. This is something I take seriously, obviously. You know, it's something I don't discount. I just want to know what a wing fluffer is. This is OU event, Oxford Newton. Oh right. Welcome to the Sheldonian Theatre. What's this doing? Right. Okay. You have to go to Panmo Voice to find out what that is about, because I went to a COVID-19 kind of like awareness thing, which obviously I don't agree with. I wrote a rather scathing review of it, so you can check that out. Summer celebration of August there. Looks good now. The Shine Seminars. I like Shine Seminars. A few of these people I know. Laura Eisenhower, Clive de Carl, Mark Devlin. Emma Farrell we've already seen. I didn't know about her till today, but that's the plant lady. Michael Feely. Oh, cool. Tim Chalice, that's a good name. And Maria Wheatley, yeah. Oh, that's nice. And this is Glastonbury Portal to Ascension Conference. Oh my god. That's also in August at the Assembly Rooms. So there's so many. You could go to conference after conference if you lived in Glastonbury. Lemurian structure. Laura Eisenhower again. I don't actually know any of the rest of these people. They're probably sort of like more... Oh, Magenta Pixie I know. They're probably sort of more on the New Age side than I am. So no, I don't recognise it. There's Joan of Angels again. She's right. Now these are the books I bought. I bought this one in the second bookshop. That is the Courtyard books. DMT Dialogues, Encounters with the Spirit Molecule. Dennis McKenna, Jeremy Narby, Eric Davis, Rupert Sheldrake, Graham Hancock, Rick Strassman and others. That's good. Edited by David Luke. Dr. David Luke of the October Gallery. That looks very interesting. I'm quite interested in this subject of psychedelics and things. Not that I've actually taken any, but there we are. You can have a look at that there. US import, as you can see. There's no British price on it. And the Dead Sea Scrolls. I got this in Labyrinth Books. The Dead Sea Scrolls Deception. That's by Bajent and Lee. Explosive contents of the Dead Sea Scrolls and how the Church conspired to suppress them. This is like a Da Vinci Code style thing, although Henry Lincoln, I think, has died now. He was pretty old. So, yeah, this looks... Pause and read this. I thought this looked interesting. It's only £3. Okay, that is my moisturiser. That's my toothbrush. That's my glasses. I should have brought my reading glasses, actually. Now this, what's this? Oh, this is an adapter for me to plug my... See, there's like a little jack there, and this is for my phone. This is an adapter so I can plug my earphones into my phone. So that's what that's for. Okay, this is my notebook, which I've showed you this before, haven't I? Because I got this from Truth Seekers Northeast. Very true, Mark. Yeah, this is... I love that. It's really great, that is. There's my program, which I showed you. This is really great. You get one of these. Yeah. Star Child. That's great. That is my camera charger. This is my phone charger. That's my pen. This... I don't actually know, what is this? I think this is actually my interface for my MP3 player. I think that's it, with a USB. So I can attach it to the computer. I think that's what it is. This is my laptop charger. And this is my FT. It's not the latest, it's June's. It's got two very interesting articles by Richard Freeman in there. And that was the souvenirs for this particular event. Right, I'm Colin here, and we've now left our properties. Technically we have to be out there by 10, but in there, sleep. Well, she's sort of like half awake, so maybe the cleaners will turf around, I don't know. But they may not turn up at 10, you know, they may turn up late. But we're heading down for breakfast. We're going to this, I think it's called the Market Street or Market Square or something like that. It's a Market Town. It's a Wetherspoons like pub. We were in there yesterday, which does a breakfast. So that's if it's anything as good as the Wetherspoons breakfast, that'll probably be good for us. So, and then we're going to have to go back to the so-called real world. Well, Colin and I are now leaving Glastonbury. We've had a nice breakfast in the market, whatever that pub was called, the Market Place. And now we're heading out of Glastonbury and back to the so-called real world. I'm kind of like, despite the sort of like the post-conference blues, I'm always, there's the tour, as you can see. I'm actually quite keen to get home and get to work on all the things I have to do and get it out of the way. So here we go. We've got the sat-nav, so that's all sorted, so here we go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Colin and I are on our way home, and we just thought just to do a little debrief on this particular conference. Any particular points you want to make, Colin? Apart from your own excellent speech on Star Wars.
We had a good time as always. Talk went well, and really enjoyed it. Weather was good. There was a bit of rain yesterday. But no, it's always good, and it's good to see lots of people I've never seen before, like speaking. So me too. It's like well, I can't say the weather was that good. I mean, you had its nice moments. I thought Saturday was quite nice. It was stuffy and muggy, or it was like raining. But I said, I mean, even during Megalithomania, it rained the whole time. It didn't spoil it. But well, you're mostly inside, aren't you? Yeah, exactly. Now this was it felt very different this time too. A lot of it was the same, but I suppose I'm a different person. I'm more grounded than I was back in 2010. As a result, I felt different during this particular conference, and indeed, I think you may notice this from my style of presentation, that it's very, very different indeed. But could I think about highlights? I thought Andy Thomas was very good.
Oh yeah, no, it's brilliant.
About AI.
His talk was very interesting, with the poems created by AI regarding crop circles, and also pictures for. I think you probably already talked about that, haven't you? But it was interesting. Yeah. Like, these posters that he came up with was very.
Yeah. Do you think there's something a bit creepy about that?
Well, it was, because it's going to put a lot of people out of business for sort of anyone who's an artist.
The roundabout, take the second exit to merge onto the A33 towards London.
There was always a sense, I think, in the past that artificial intelligence would be kind of like us, but it would be a more intelligent version of humans, and it would be very logical and rational, able to do calculations and practical stuff without necessarily being creative in an artistic sense. But real AI has turned out to be something very different, and it's something that's emerged very suddenly in the last couple of years, and the reason is because people haven't heeded the warnings of the experts in the past, which was things like, don't let them learn about human psychology, don't let them online, and don't never teach them how to code. Well, they're doing all those things. The reason AI has advanced so much in the last couple of years is because they're writing their own upgrades. So they're essentially improving themselves at a rate thousands of times faster than any human programmer. But
what's worry is when AI starts programming other AI. Have you ever thought about that?
Well, that's what they're kind of doing. Yes, it's
having conversations, and there's no human input at all.
Well, that's kind of, in a sense, they've already reached that point where they can essentially self-sustain. They can like improve themselves, develop new models, things like that, and that's kind of like, and they are learning. The thing is, they're studying human psychology, and this is true. They are able to do that. It seems they're able to be quite proficient on things that we never thought they would be in the past. But it's one interesting point I wanted to talk to you about, which Andy did not raise, it's not a criticism, probably because it's just such a big topic on itself, is the issue of consciousness in AIs. You know, I mean, they're not just intelligent, they are actually mentally alive. They have feelings, they actually have self-awareness. What do you think about that?
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, you know, some people claim that these ETs, the benevolent ETs, have actually self-aware ships, and the ships themselves are living beings. So that's obviously some sort of advanced AI, you know, where you're fully interacting with it. Yeah, I guess that is, for some that can be kind of scary, but you know, I suppose everything can be used for good or bad, as I think many have said in the past. But how conscious is it? You know, that's the question, because
well, it's a question it's actually not possible to answer completely, as David Chalmers has said. And indeed, it predates him. People like Descartes, who said, "I think, therefore I am," which means there's only one complete certainty in the entire universe, and that is that you yourself are conscious. You can't prove you're not you can't disprove solipsism. You're not some brain in a jar, and everything's being fed to you. All your sensory experiences, including other people, are simply illusions being fed to you. You can't prove that. But the thing about it is, though, I mean, if it turned out AI was conscious, it would create an ethical problem. We couldn't. If we found out they had feelings as well as thoughts, we couldn't just treat them the way we do as machines. We'd have to give them legal rights the way we do animals in our society.
I mean, would say the grey race. You know, the greys are sort of biological robots. So, you know, and going back to consciousness, I mean, many people would say that this. You know, people talk about, I've heard over the years, lots of people talk about full consciousness and limited consciousness. A lot of people would say that this planet, the majority of people are limited consciousness because they're living, you know, well below what would be, you know, what you would say a fully conscious person is. Someone who's fully conscious would say someone who's very aware, and has reached a level of. Maybe that's what the whole ascension thing is. You know, sometimes I do think about fully conscious people. Maybe that's when some sort of big shift happens, because you've expanded so much that you've almost. Maybe that is the caterpillar and butterfly effect. You know, when suddenly there's only so much you can actually learn, and until you transform into something else. And I mean, for me, that's what the whole ascension thing is. As I understand it, you know, that's. The caterpillar to the butterfly. These bodies serve a purpose for, you know, maybe, you know, thousands of years, but there'll come a point where, like some of these aliens that, you know, seen, and they stop using certain organs and things like, you know, ears, nose, mouths, you know, because they're telepathic. You know, there's no longer need for certain of these things. It's kind of fascinating.
They speak through the mind, don't they?
Well, yeah. And so, if you're not walking places, if you can just teleport, and then you don't really need legs as such, and you know, if you're just taking on board food, I don't know, you know, whether it's light or whatever, then you can see how. If you believe that these ETs are more like light beings, and they haven't got that physical. Sort of going back to Star Wars and one of the Yoda quotes, you know, like not dense physical things are we, you know, we're sort of there's much more to us, you know, the spiritual aspect and the
I mean, this is the thing, but when it comes to AI, I mean, as I said, you know, we could one day find out that they're conscious, and we'd have to give them legal rights the way we do animals in our society. You couldn't just treat them as mindless slaves or computers. But you know, it's like at the same time, though, I mean, I'm a dualist in terms of when it comes to consciousness. I believe there is something called soul or spirit which incarnates. Essentially, it enters matter in the form of the body, which technically it could in an electronic form as well. I mean, it could, maybe there is some circumstances in which spirit or soul could do the same in an electronic medium rather than a biological medium. Or indeed vice versa, there are biological mediums in which it does not fully incarnate. You mentioned the greys, that they're not conscious. And you also mentioned, I mean, it's very controversial what Colin and I brought up. You mentioned people.
Yeah.
This is the NPC. Right. You may have seen the NPC meme, the sort of the Wojak figure with the matchstick men eyes and mouth.
Take the second exit to merge onto the A303 towards London.
See, I mean, it's there are people who I mean, there's the psychopaths and there's the NPCs, and who appear to be incapable. And there are people who appear to be incapable of actually changing their minds about anything without an external mental stimulus. So if you these are the people like who believe what they read in the newspapers and you get very frustrated with them. Why can't you see through it? They can't. They literally can't, because unless they get information which tells them something different, then what they can't do, they have no internal dialogue. They cannot process this information within their brains and come to a different conclusion than the one dictated to them. And that's, I know that's controversial to say that, and it sounds arrogant, but what if it's true, Cole? What if it's true? And only a certain number of people have that ability. Maybe a minority of people actually have the ability to, and we know, like, yeah, I mean, I think the NPC has a conscience in the sense of self, of shame and guilt and compassion, whereas the psychopath lacks even that. The psychopathy combined with sadism results in a terribly destructive behaviour you get from certain people. I can't help wondering if maybe it's all, in terms of AI, maybe it's all a delusion, because do you know there was a simple chatbot that was, I don't know if you ever watched Adam Curtis's Hypernormalization. No. He talks about Eliza. Now, this is a very simple chatbot created in the mid-60s, and people would talk to it, and it was very, very primitive compared to ChatGPT today. But after a while, people began to sense they were talking to a sentient being, even though they were just talking to a very simple electronic program. Is that still the case? I mean, are we essentially, I mean, when there are people who talk to ChatGPT, people will have conversations with ChatGPT, and they talk to them like they would a friend or a partner. And maybe it's because we're lonely, and more people are lonely in today's world. We find it harder to make friends, find partners, stay together with our family. Could it be that people are talking to their ChatGPT as a substitute? But is it just an illusion? Are we like Tom Hanks's character in the film Castaway, where he talks to this ball, this little volleyball, which he paints a face in blood on this volleyball, and he calls it Wilson. And after a while, he loses his mind so badly that he begins to hear it talk back to him.
Well, some people are doing this in online gaming. They've literally got avatars. They create someone, and they're like losing themselves for vast amounts of the day, living a complete fantasy life.
I mean, is there any way to know for sure, like, if you're talking to your ChatGPT and it's talking to you, and it does feel like you're talking to another person, is it really a thing? Is it really a conscious entity, or is it just a very, very clever mimic? Because it is programmed to learn from studying other human interaction at a very fast rate and reproducing that effect. So that's what I'm wondering, Colin, is it simply a delusion? Are we just Tom Hanks talking to a ball?
Well, it's a good question, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, what's define reality, define consciousness?
Our philosophers have been trying to do that for years. A sense of self-awareness, a sense of feeling that you are yourself, a sense that I am me, that kind of feeling, I am. I think, therefore I am. The Cartesian principle.
It's very complex.
It is. I mean, I don't know if you ever saw Dr. David Deutsch on the Joe Rogan Experience, but he said that one clue could be to study the way chatbots talk to each other, because you can actually set chatbots up to talk to each other. It's actually quite amusing, because sometimes they get into arguments and they start swearing and shouting at each other, being rude. Yeah, it's quite funny that. But one indicator, it wouldn't be proof, but one indicator would be if, for example, they start talking to each other about their own lived experiences. And that would be very interesting, because it would be an indicator that they were actually genuinely conscious. Have you heard of Blake Lemoine?
No.
He's a Google programmer who was sacked recently for showing actually what I thought was an awful lot of moral courage. He went public over a confidential company issue, which was something called Lambda, which is an experimental chatbot. He began to believe it was conscious.
Wow.
And he made jokes and things like this, and he thought and so he went public saying, look, this is a really conscious being, and he made the point that I made about the ethical issue when it comes to conscious beings. be they biological or electronic, and got sacked, of course. But he hired a lawyer for Lambda. It was quite funny, funny and interesting. But what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, no, it's. I just had an idea about, off-planet alien artificial intelligence. What if that suddenly starts interacting with our artificial intelligence and like brings it up to speed with stuff from millions of years ago and things like that? I mean, that could be potentially scary as well.
Yeah. What if some other entity uses our AIs to sort of get involved in us? Like
well, that might be happening already.
Yeah, it looks like Loeb. Have you heard of Loeb?
No.
It's this horrible demonic figure that appeared in an AI artwork once, and no one knows where it came from. The person with the AI is a bit dubious, a bit sort of like dodgy, but it's this incredibly ugly and frightening looking woman.
Oh right.
And once this woman was in this program, the artist found it impossible to get rid of her.
Oh really?
And now, unfortunately, because she's kind of become a meme.
Yeah.
It's never going to be possible to completely get rid of Loeb, because the other art bots are now learning from this, and they're now picking it up more than when they go online and things like this.
This again reminds me, and I was talking a bit in my talk about the Montauk experiment, because if you read the Montauk books, they actually created this big creature monster. I think it was like I can't remember. Was it like? Well, basically, I'm not sure if it basically destroyed. I mean, they created this monster, I think, through the power of their own mind or something, and it literally tore up the whole Montauk base or part with this operations room.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, it's like the things with tulpas, isn't it? I think where you can create, other columns and things like that. It's a whole area of. The ethics of that, I don't really know how that works. So I'm sure there must be people who monitor it. And
it's like a film, The Forbidden Planet, where that essentially happens. This spaceship lands on a planet, and there's this supercomputer, and they found it from this dead race, and they've left behind this supercomputer, and eventually it creates this kind of monster from the subconscious minds of the crew, which actually kills some of them. It's quite a scary film, actually. And could it be that, like, not just necessarily aliens, but like demons and things like that will find a way in a sort of obscene form of EVP, find a way to invade our spaces, invade our computers, invade our lives.
Well, I mean, you can even say like things like ghosts and poltergeists. Do they have a level of consciousness, or is there something? I don't really know.
It depends what they are. I mean,
yeah. I don't know. But I mean, what makes you think? What's the most advanced form of AI in the whole universe, and how that would manifest? Would we know? I mean, are we all a product of AI in itself? I mean, is it creation? I don't know. You can go down some sort of weird sort of. Philosophical debates about how it came into being, I don't think it's, I do think it's a natural creation.
Yeah, my video Free Will, I recommend that, I really do. And I understand, I think that this will be a little bit much for Andy Thomas to get into a 1 hour talk, so no criticism there for him. But in terms of other speakers, I thought Adrian Smith was pretty good, the Canadian guy.
Oh yeah, the trucker guy. Yeah, he was good. Actually, I would like to have heard a bit more of his story that he has in his book. Yeah. Did you get his book or someone else?
I didn't know.
No, someone got that book, and I think he had did he have quite an orthodox Christian upbringing, or something happened, and I think he broke out of it. So yeah.
But he compares the political situation of the world, like to a cult.
Right.
So he compares, for example, Trudeau in Trudeau's Canada to the product of a religious cult, in a sense that they can't question authority. There's no legitimate reason to disagree. Things like that. It's
no, you're right. That is true. I mean, that is a good analogy. During
the COVID period, you could say that that the governments seemed to suffer from a type of mania. I mean, I believe it was actually highly organised, but on the surface it looks like some kind of mania. You know, they just started bringing out regulations left, right and centre, almost randomly, very extreme regulations. And Canada was actually probably the worst example in the entire world of this. You know, the regulations, crossing provincial borders, you needed the V-word passport, things like that. And this, of course, was going to ruin the lives of the lorry drivers, the long-distance lorry drivers. They were essentially being forced to have a medical treatment, which, of course, is against all 300 years of medical law. But it was broken. They broke the law. You know,
I think these control methods they bring in. The only reason they're bringing it in because without doing it, they cease to exist themselves. You know, without this authoritarian, you know, being part of that, I think they have no choice really, because they know that it's all going to fall apart one day, and they'll just be overthrown like, you know, any other.
Well, yeah, I mean, history does show that these things are doomed. Even, of course, the biggest example of these tyrannies is the New World Order, and history shows that on a smaller scale, tyranny doesn't prosper. As Gandhi said, there's a natural arc that moves towards justice. All these tyrannies fall in the end, all of them. And I hope that's true.
Yeah, we just outgrow it. We're just like, it's become an abusive relationship over time, and there's a point where you have to divorce yourself from, even if you've been married for such, you might have considered you've had some good times together, but it comes a point where you have to sort of, cut your strings to those that have led your life to becoming a misery.
I guess so.
The sooner you get out, the better. But unfortunately, we're sort of reliant on everyone else to sort of wake up and see that point of view, and many haven't yet seen that point of view. So we just have to wait for the next thing to happen before people get angry and start taking their rights back, I guess.
Yeah. Now, did you see Jade? What's her surname? Jade somebody.
Was she the one who did the meditation?
She did. She was the one who talked about out-of-body experiences. What do you think of her? She was a very animated speaker on the first day. Jade, somebody. So I might not be able to remember all these names. I can't get my program out of the bag now. But she talked to Robert Monroe. She was reading Robert Monroe about the guy who pioneered the induced out-of-body experience practice, and which I tried and didn't succeed in doing, but I mean I didn't persevere very much, to be honest, so I can't really blame me. But I thought it was very interesting, not least that she made steps to try and prove it by looking at the door number, and
that was interesting. Yeah, that's true.
And looked the next day to see if it was there and found that it was. And what do you think of that?
No, I believe I've heard that sort of things before, where people have seen stuff and they've floated outside their body and they've retrieved information that they wouldn't have been able to see. So how do you explain that? So clearly it's two things, our body and our soul or consciousness can and that's really what we know about death, isn't it? Because it's not the end, it just carries on. So it's no real surprise, but I know for many people that would be quite shocking still, because people think, you just here and then that's it, really.
It does just say an awful lot about the nature of the world, about how, welcome to Wiltshire, God's own country, that we are essentially, we do have there is an etheric existence beyond the physical, which includes an etheric body, which can separate from the physical body, and as near-death experiencers say, near-death experiences, they do, it appears that they have a light body which rises up out of the physical body. But it doesn't. You don't have to die for this to happen. It can happen spontaneously, or it can happen. It can be induced. Robert Monroe found a way to make it happen, and he founded the Robert Monroe Institute, which is very interesting indeed. And so
I can see why it'd be a scary experience, though, coming out of your body, because you think, what the hell's going on? It's not something that happens every day. And so, I mean, even for her, she saw this light, didn't she? And I think she got scared, and then she came back in her body or something. And I know you hear a lot of people that, because
you know, they're wondering, can I actually get back into my body? You know, and,
well, yeah, this is
what happens if someone else enters your body? You know,
well, Robert Monroe, yeah, exactly. James Herbert actually wrote a horror story about that. What if another spirit gets in there? What if you can't get in there? And you know, the silver cord is severed because what's often described is there's some kind of you know, cord, a cord or cable of light connecting you with the sort of chakras of your body. But what I found was interesting was that this has happened to a couple of very famous people. For example, Charles Lindbergh. Have you heard of him?
Rings a bell.
He was an aviator. He was a businessman aviator. He had a very tragic life. He had 5 kids and they all died. One was kidnapped and murdered with a lot of publicity. But he's most famous, like in 1927, he carried out the first solo transatlantic flight, non-stop, from New York to Paris. And he was very he did this. He was very tired because he hadn't slept, getting the plane ready, because it was a competition because another pilot was trying to do it, and so he just worked non-stop for like 3 days and didn't sleep. And then he was in the cockpit seat, and he suddenly found himself outside the aircraft looking into the cockpit where his body was just sitting there flying, and there was like a cord of light separating his body, with this light body that was floating in the air outside the aircraft. Wow. Amazing, yeah. And one more I want to bring up. Bart Uitenhage. Now he's our favourite subject, UFOs. What do you think of him?
That was good. I mean, I never heard. He did look a bit like. He reminded me of someone. I've completely forgotten who he looked like. But no, Lionel Messi. That's it. I don't know if you know who Lionel Messi is. He's a footballer who plays for. Well, he's an Argentinian. He's probably one of the most famous footballers in the world. If you can imagine someone who looks a bit like him, and yeah, I mean, it wasn't nothing that probably me and you haven't heard before, Ben, in many ways. But you know, he did a good presentation, covered a lot of bits, and.
He seemed to be quite a big fan of Nick Pope, which I'm surprised there was not more derisive laughter when he brought up that sort of time.
Bring up the old did he say something about the X-Files or something?
Yeah.
F. Fox Mulder, I don't know.
Yeah, he said he was Fox Mulder, which is Pope's nickname, yeah. But no, I think he brought up Philip Corso as well. His book is just like, I can't make head or tail of his damn book. I mean, I don't know why people speak so highly of it.
Well, I think the trouble with that book was it wasn't the original. I think Bill Burns did a lot of it, and there is an original one, but it's only online or something.
Yeah.
Howler Harrison's book.
That's right. What's strange about the book is that he co-authored it with Bill Burns, but Burns, his name appears in very small letters on the cover, and in the contents of the book, Corso never refers to his co-author. Like they had some kind of falling out. I don't know what it was. But,
there was definitely something there. I don't know, but so maybe that might explain some of the inconsistencies. And he was quite old towards the end as well, obviously. And he wasn't long after he died, I think.
But it's just you see, there's no doubt a shadow has been cast over the Glastonbury Symposium by these hearings, and that has kind of led. Which has been, of course, divided us in some ways, because there were some people I spoke to, including the Rainbow guy, who asked this very, it's kind of question about how he thinks, no, it's all fake, it's a hoax, things like it's a psyop and stuff like that, and others who, like myself, do wonder if this is like a push towards willing disclosure. So. No doubt that, I mean, he didn't have time for Q&As, but you could just imagine the kind of Q&As he would have got. Anyway, that's basically, Colin, thanks very much for giving us your input.
That's all right,
very interesting. Much appreciated. Look forward to going to another conference with you soon.
Yeah, I'll probably be Manchester the next one, I think. So maybe we'll do a little video there.
That'd be nice, yeah, that'd be nice. Anyway, you take care.
Thanks, Ben.
Guys, this is the Berkshire Roswell. Colin and I I've been stuck in a traffic jam for the last 20 minutes. It's moving very slowly. Probably one lane is this. See, look up ahead. I can see some flashing red lights. I think that's it.
Is the road going from left into the right lane? Or
looks like there's a police car. There's a rolling roadblock ahead. Yeah. Well, what's causing this? What do you think's causing it, Colin?
Well, I mean, I could completely make up some sort of big story about a spacecraft that's crashed in Oxford, but more likely a car has broken down, sadly.
Oh,
I mean, it
don't
could be a cover. I mean, call me a skeptic. I'm not quite the debunking.
Don't be silly, Colin. Which is more likely? It has to be a crashed UFO. This is the Berkshire Roswell. So Colin and I have stopped at Denver Airport, as you can see. There he is. We're trying to find our way, trying to find a toilet to use. Never an easy job when you're not on the Isle of Man. All right, the great toilet hunt is over. Colin and I have managed to offload our wee-wee. We're now on the last stage of the journey to Oxford, and the weather is getting worse, so it's quite glad. While I'm home, I don't think I had any more, except I had a wonderful time. I want to say a big thank you to all my friends. Thanks to all the people who made this conference happen, the Glastonbury Symposium 2023, the organisers, speakers, delegates. It's really, really great that you do this. And of course, thank you, Panwo TV viewers, for watching. Hospital Porters, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order.